Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm and you are watching second part of What If Naruto Gained the Power of an Alien World. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Not wasting no time, let's start the story.
Himi was joining the group as they boarded the ship. Despite Naruto's conversation with Kushina, Naruto, and Miko remained together. Sveta was at the bow with Miko and Naruto. They had made the decision to go to Tonfon because, according to Himi, there was, for some reason, a piece of the Umbra gear there. There was, but she had no idea why. On the boat were Ryu, Huju, and Huzan. When it was brought up, Huzan, an elderly man of more than 50, was perplexed. Huzan said, "I don't think I know what this Umbra gear looks like. Any way to identify it?" "It's a set of clothing that actually emanates dark energy, but not evil energy. It's not cursed, if that's what you're asking." Naruto replied, "You see my armor?" Miko went on, "My battle clothes, too?" Naruto went on, "And my purple clothes, as well?" Huju and Ryu didn't understand why it was brought up, but Huzan nodded. "All of them were actually based off of the original Umbra armor, which we'll need in case these don't stand up to what we're after." Naruto clarified. "They all radiate the same power, and if the original Umbra gear has the same energy flowing through it, I'll know." Huzan gave a nod. "I see. So, if we're close, you'll tell us." Shrugging, Naruto said, "Either that, or I'll get it myself. Seriously, if I don't want to be found I won't. I'm awesome like that." He rubbed the spot where Miko had bonked him on the head. "Miko, why did you do that? Where's your sense of humility? I know we taught you better than that," Miko asked. Naruto stumbled after Naruto gave him a bony blow to the head in the same location. "Geez, Naruto. You hit harder than Miko, you know that." Naruto merely gave him a smile. "It comes with using the Dark Jupiter blade." Kushina announced her presence by saying, "That reminds me. What is the Dark Jupiter blade, and why do you have it?" Naruto's right hand suddenly held a giant blade, which she laid lightly on her shoulder. The blade itself was dark purple, nearly black, with 3 spirals in a delta formation close to the guard. "This is the Dark Jupiter blade. I can use it with one hand, or both. 6 feet 2 inches, with an additional 13, at the tip on a slant. Ironically, it was a generic lightning bolt, and it had a jagged edge, with a point, but no cutting power. The handle was 8 inches of dark orange leather, with a silver trim spaced out every half inch. The hilt was a standard guard, flat and ordinary, extending no more than half an inch on either edge of the blade. And the cutting edge was extremely sharp, and it showed. The hilt was 11 inches wide, with a blunt longer edge. There were a few lightning streaks running down the blade if one looked closely, as Kushina did. According to Naruto, it's said to be cursed, but it's not like most cursed weapons. You see, most of the cursed weapons in the world won't let you let them go, but this one isn't like that. He had the ability to do many things to other people. Anybody who isn't even an adept has a tendency to lose their mind." When everyone's eyes widened, Naruto nodded, indicating that he understood. Cruel, but effective. Kushina regarded the sword with caution. As time went on, some adepts from Venus and Mars attempted to wield it, but their arms slipped out of their sockets, causing them to perish from blood loss. No Mercury adepts have tried yet since they dislike the way Zanbatsu-class blades feel. 7 Jupiter adepts attempted to use it in total, but each of them became catatonic, or insane. Only 2 of those 7 are still alive. One of those 2 is unable to leave his house and is in a persistent state of insanity and depression. Even the most skilled healers have failed to undo the harm. The final one of the 7, what about it, you inquired? I'm the 7th, and when Naruto tries to use it, he'll be the 8th. You're looking at her. Naruto replied. Even though he hasn't passed the test yet, I'm confident he will. His will is stronger than mine. If I may ask, how does your will relate to this? Curious, Huzan inquired. Naruto sighed and said, well, he told me he did this to the other Jupiter adepts that tried. He intensified their fear, despair, sadness, hatred, and any thoughts that even remotely resembled negativity or darkness. He raises them so quickly that in a single second, each one could reach 200 times the normal level. Bloodlust is the result of handling 1,000 times the usual amount, which facilitates the use of a technique called killer intent. So, you could tolerate 1,000 times as many negative emotions as you experienced. Surprised, Huju remarked, it must have been small. Naruto acknowledged, actually, I could withstand 2,000 times the normal levels. And you try dealing with loneliness for the first 8 years of your life, not knowing who your parents are, in a village that hates you for reasons you don't know. with the only ones who even try to show they care being too busy 90% of the time or unable to help due to politics. Only 4 people were on that list on my 8th birthday, but nobody was aware of the 4th. Ayame Ichiraku, Hiruzen Sarutobi, Tuchi Ichiraku, and the 4th, yet unidentified, Anko Midarashi. Anko is an expert in interrogation, has a longer vengeance streak than the Uchiha, and has a fetish for snakes and blood. How severe was her condition? Ka-san, the one she's after is Orochimaru. Miko replied. We all know of her, but Naruto took more of her habits than any of us. Seriously, the past few days, I've seen 75% of Anko's personality in Naruto replied. In fact, I have the majority of them. Naruto noted, you and Sveta both have a sadistic streak, which you display when you're pulling an epic level prank. After giving it some thought, Naruto nodded and said, true enough, I suppose. In any case, let's return to the Dark Jupiter Blade. Long before I should have, I was able to manage any negative thoughts and emotions. There was no need for me to worry after the first test. Really, I'm not sure if stubborn or determined is a better description. He doesn't really care, but neither does he. If I ever need assistance, he's got my back. Ryu noted, the way you talk, you make it seem as though the sword is alive. Before drawing her own blade, Kushina continued, sounds like he really is. My blade is, and has most of what you said, though in different ways. It sounds like the Dark Jupiter Blade is sentient rather than cursed. After giving it some thought, Naruto heard a deep male voice say, she's right. I am. Naruto turned her head slightly, eyeing the blade. Really? You're right, he is, she said, turning to face Kushina. Well, that makes more sense. So, if you can use him, then couldn't Naruto and Miko? Kushina nodded. It's feasible, however, they must first pass his test, Naruto acknowledged. Nodding, Naruto said, I'll be taking it after we're done with the Tuaparang. Ryu went on, Arcanus too, I hope. I don't think Arcanus is really a large threat, Naruto said, turning to face Ryu. He is a formidable Mercury adept and much older than he appears to be, but I caught a glimpse of one of his thoughts when I saw him just before we left Belinsk. He might have a different motivation than the others for doing this. Something else is wrong, even though I am aware that he is not actually a Tuaparang member. I know what he was thinking before he blocked me, but he blocked me before I could understand the majority of it. He is more worried about one male and one female. I got the male, but he stopped me before I could get the female's name or even her appearance. You believe he has another motive? What is that? Hu Ju inquired. Hu Zan said, what I want to know is who the two were. Naruto turned to see Amity beside Reef. Hey, could you come here for a moment, Amity? After hearing this, Amity went to the bow and asked, what's going on? Are you aware of who your dad is? No, nobody knew, said Amity, shaking his head. Not even my uncle. My mother was the one who revealed that secret. I didn't even believe I had one before I left, and neither did the entire Aothe. Naruto said, well, I know who it is. Hold on. How did you learn about it? Startled, Amity inquired. The eyes of Ryu, Hu Ju, Hu Zan, Kushina, Miko, and Naruto widened in realization as Naruto responded. Read the father's mind back in Belinsk. Please. Who is it? I must know, Amity uttered. I can tell you that you won't like it, Naruto said, shaking his head. It's the reason behind his actions. That's why he initially left. If anyone found out, his reputation would be transferred to you, and you would be despised by everyone you met. He didn't like it, but he thought it was best that you didn't know. Since you were 3 years old, he has been keeping watch over you while you travel. By putting you in the fire and letting you figure out a way out, he is attempting to make you stronger. He desires for you to surpass him as a man. Surprised, Amity said, what do you mean? I believe it would be better if I at least knew who he was, even if I ended up detesting him. I can relate to you there, Naruto said, nodding. Naruto and Miko can as well. When we learned about our mother, we were 10 years old. We didn't give a damn about our father's identity after that. We knew we had a legacy to uphold, so it didn't matter to us. Naruto sighed. Amity, your father is hiding behind a mask and identifying himself as Arcanus, and I couldn't find his true name. I am aware that it contains the name Al and that Arcanus is not his true name. Amity cast a sidelong glance. Naruto, are you aware of why? Would you mind going into more detail? What made him do all that he did? He wanted the Eclipse Tower to rise, but why? I'm not sure I understand. I don't know, but I know what I know, Naruto said, shaking his head. He's trying to make sure we have all the information we need. What he really wants us to do is only partially apparent. I'm not really passing any real judgment on him at the moment. Even though he was a vicious jerk, he still had a heart. Since what I have learned about him isn't exactly accurate, that is all I can honestly say about him at this time." After hearing this, Kraden said, "I already know who Arcanus is under the mask, and I have not seen anything even resembling a heart or emotions from him, aside from being power-hungry." Kraden was a little taken aback. Like everyone else, Naruto looked at him. After using Spirit Sense, he discovered the truth after 2 seconds, and his eyes widened. "That explains everything," Naruto almost yelled. "What?" Kushina inquired. "I think you'll find out when we see him at the Apollo lens," Naruto said, shaking his head. "However, are you all aware of the Golden Sun incident from years ago?" Everyone nodded. He was present. "That's all I have to say." Most of them thought about that, but Kraden nodded. "You're right, he was," Kraden said. "But we believed him dead. However, I discovered that he was still alive." He shook his head. "Mia would be both pleased and saddened by his survival. I simply haven't informed her." "What did he do?" Amity inquired. "I'll let you handle that. There's no point in telling you something you'll discover for yourself anyhow." "But I will say this," Kraden said, turning to face Amity as he made his way to the stern. "You're a cousin of Reef. Your mother may have had no relation. My father has no relatives on the mainland, even to this day, and my mother only had one sibling," Amity said, turning to face Reef, who had heard the statement. Reef's eyes widened before he ran towards Amity. "A sibling. She was dissatisfied with him for what he did, so I never knew his name. I eventually left it alone. You must be his son if you are my cousin." "I already know who it is, too," Naruto said, nodding. "But I'm not going to reveal my secret. It belongs to him. He's got enough hints from me to figure it out on his own. I can't help him in every way. In all honesty, if I had been in his shoes, I would have followed suit and never claimed my own son out of concern that everyone would despise him. The identity of the other person he claimed to be assisting is still a mystery to me. I just know that she's a woman." Naruto fell silent and stared at the ocean while the others who heard it simply ignored it. Naruto was still thinking as dusk approached, but he soon sensed a presence in his head. "Hello, Naruto." Naruto's eyes narrowed. "Arcanus. Or Alex, if I may," Naruto gave a mental response. Upon hearing this, Miko and Naruto turned to face Naruto, but they remained silent. "As smart as a fox. You deserve your nickname," Alex said, chuckling a little. "What exactly are you pursuing? You realize that things with me aren't always as they seem. I will trust you with this information because of this, but I ask that you keep it to yourself," Alex said to him. "Why not? What you previously told Amity, I had already discovered. You're right about my reasons for leaving. I didn't want him to get as much attention as I did, as you mentioned. I desired for him to lead a life that I was unable to." Alex acknowledged. "I felt it would be best if he was unaware that I was his father. I can speak openly with you because you truly get it. The majority don't." Naruto retorted, "I gather that much. So what gives? You tried to reach me, but why? You are superior to the others. I basically have the same plan as you do. By the end, the Tuaparang will be in ruins and Amity will be regarded as a weird hero. The remaining ones will then be removed by me and my apprentice, whom I know you are aware of. How would I know her, too? Other than the fact that she is female, I have no clues. Believe me, she is someone you know. She is also familiar with you. Look, I don't know what you're getting at, but hey, I'm running out of time. I'll tell you the color of her eyes and the other reason I reached out to you." Naruto's eyes widened as he realized who it was. "Her eyes are a bright lavender, like your wife's hair. As for why I'm really contacting you, it's to let you know that, even though I was supposedly dead here, I was in your world. When I met her mother, she didn't hold me responsible for my actions. I needed to return home to my family. As you know, Amity is my son, but my apprentice, if you can figure it out, is actually my daughter. I was accepted by my daughter. I doubt my son will. He has every right to despise me. She doesn't have the same rights, despite my telling her so. She asked me why I was forgiven. I still can't forgive myself for what I did to them both, even though she understood why I did it. What I'm doing will portray me as the villain who initiated everything while simultaneously elevating Amity to the status of a hero. For Amity's benefit, I'm doing this. I haven't endured enough suffering. I assume it goes without saying that your daughter will accept your explanation. That's most likely the reason her hair is more blue than her alleged father's," Naruto said. "Yes, I am aware. There is no denying that the man is a jackass. I must call him a jackass, Despite the fact that what I did makes him appear to be a saint, he simply didn't comprehend anything. He also has no sense of humor. Miko and Naruto realized who it was when he said, "Yes, but my daughter is fond of you. Anyway, I'll be training my daughter, but I don't think you'll pursue her. For the record, you were sent to Nihon Island from a distance by my daughter. At the time, she was in the Harun Channel. Then she headed straight for the place where she had sent you, but you had already disappeared from the exit. She desired a private conversation with you, to comprehend what you were pursuing. You do understand that using the Apollo lens will guarantee your demise, don't you?" Naruto shot back, "One problem with that, Alex. I can't die. I can't die, but I can be killed, which is what will happen. Although you are unaware of Kurama's identity, you are likely familiar with Kyuubi no Yoko if you have visited my world." "I assume that the two are the same thing?" Alex inquired. "Bingo. I understand. Just so you know, before I took her up, she was already aware of the fox. Using warp to get from there to here requires a lot of P synergy. I could hardly finish it even with the energy I took in from the Golden Sun. Since then, I've almost doubled my P synergy reserves, and I managed to locate my daughter and bring her here. She is aware that you are married, but she still has feelings for you. She dislikes it and wants to be the best when she proves herself to the Beastman. Sveta won't like it, I can guarantee you that. I understand, but she isn't changing her mind about it." Alex told him, "I want to test my own son, and she wants Sveta to be prepared for a fight at the Apollo lens." With a hint of anger in his voice, Naruto replied, "If she wants to harm Sveta, then she'll have to go through me first. I assumed, but I do hope you have a friendship with her. I am aware of your strength. Only two of you in your group could compete against me and possibly prevail. You and Kushina, your mother. Although Kushina lacks my experience, he is on par with me in terms of P synergy. In the same way that you shinobi use ninjutsu, I can use P synergy. It's possible, you know. That is demonstrated by the Jupiter cannon you built. I'll see you at the Apollo lens, you see, then, we'll speak. My daughter entered my room just now. Until then." That was a complete mindfuck, Naruto sighed as he felt the presence depart. Now that Miko and Naruto were beside him, Naruto turned his head slightly and said, "I didn't think he'd be a caring father, but then again, considering what our father did, I can't say I'm surprised." Miko said, "I agree. I understand. I would have done the same in his place, for the same reasons," Naruto sighed, stroking his hair. "Alex and I actually share more things than I initially believed. He is actually a kind-hearted man beneath that vicious bastard exterior. He simply prefers not to display it." "You just had a chat with him, didn't you?" Kraden said, clearing his throat, and Naruto nodded. "He told me more than I thought he would, that's for sure." Naruto acknowledged, "I respect him, but I don't like his methods." Kraden noted, "The others are below deck." Naruto looked up into the darkening sky and sighed, "I know. But, Kraden, there's more to this than you realize. Alex has 2 kids. This ship has 1. Right now, the other is training with him to put Sveta to the test. With her, what would his child desire? Alex has not been harmed by her. She didn't do that to Alex." Naruto looked at Kraden and shook his head, saying, "It has to do with me, and the fact that Sveta is my wife. In fact, it has nothing to do with him, period." Bewildered, Kraden said, "You know who it is?" With his right fist clenched, Naruto nodded and said, "And looking back now, I can see why." He closed his eyes and turned back to face Sveta, saying, "But before she goes after Sveta, she's going to have to go through me. If she can't face me down, then she's not even worth Sveta's time. I'll think about it after she beats me and then Sveta. However, I plan to knock her out and send her down with the rest if she is unable to defeat me and continues." "How about you?" Kraden asked. "Alex is already aware of my plans for my part. Sveta doesn't, but he is aware of the one aspect that only I, Naruto, Miko, and Himi are aware of." "So, why did you tell Himi?" "No, I didn't," Naruto said, "and with my plan, only one person on our side will end up being killed. She knew before we met her. When it comes to reality, Alex is also aware of who will." After putting it all together, Kraden's eyes widened a little. "Don't tell me that you plan to," he said. "Yes," Naruto said, nodding. "I'll be the one falling if anyone else is." "And I assume Sveta is unaware of this," Kraden said. "She wouldn't allow it to occur if she knew. I don't tell anyone else because, somehow, it will end up going to one of those two," Naruto sighed. "The same goes for my mother. Amity should be safe, if you don't want those two to know," Kraden said. Naruto shook his head and turned back to face Kraden. I thought about telling him, but what I heard about the Ice Queen blocked that option. The Ice Queen is with Kakashi, who would tell her as soon as he found out. Additionally, Amity and the Ice Queen share a telepathic link. The Ice Queen will find out. Amity is aware. When Ice Queen learns, Kakashi will. After giving it some thought, Kraden scowled and nodded, saying, "You should tell them, but I won't say a word. When it occurs, it will only make things more difficult for them." Shaking his head, Naruto began to walk to the stern, saying, "I can't die." As he passed Kraden, he added, "The reason lies with Kurama. Sveta knows something that the others don't." He went below deck and cuddled up with Sveta without saying another word. With a glance at Miko and Naruto, Kraden said, "Everyone dies, even I will." Miko stated that he is a Biju's replacement and that he can be killed, but he won't die. Biju do not perish. Although they can be killed, they eventually change. Usually, it doesn't take long. He is able to use beast form P synergy as a result of this. Initially, Kurama provided him with the correct form. Once he understood, it was much easier. He can now move back and forth as he pleases. The problem is that he's not using P synergy, Naruto said, nodding. In reality, his beast form is his Biju form. Because of the training Sveta's father gave him, switching between the two is easy. Because he can use P synergy to enter it, he simply makes it appear to be P synergy. He can transform into a younger or older version of himself for the same reason. Beast form P synergy is not what he is using. It has been slightly altered to make room for a real shapeshift. Because it is simpler, he simply refers to it as beast form. I understand. That makes more sense. I now understand why a human could employ the beast form P synergy, which is exclusive to beastmen. Kraden thought, he had something like that all along. Why don't the Biju ever die? Miko clarified, because, Kraden, they're beings made entirely of natural energy. I'm much better at lore, but Naruto might be better in the artifacts division. Although Naruto's body is still composed of flesh and blood and will remain so, he has yet to discover another element. Something that will successfully eliminate the Jupiter Cannon's disadvantage. He has the ability to transform his body into pure energy and use it in that manner. Not only that, but this world has a lot more natural energy than ours, Naruto said, nodding. If he had been killed back there, he wouldn't have returned as soon. He may still be aware of the Biju can't die argument, but he appears to have forgotten why. Well, that would account for it. One more question for you. How is Naruto known to his apprentice? You both clearly recognize who it is. The girls exchanged glances before turning back to Kraden. To put it briefly, she stalked him for years. Despite being aware of it, Naruto didn't give a damn. He couldn't even pursue another girl because he was too focused on Sveta. The sole reason he pursued Sakura. Miko merely gazed at the door as it descended. Well, based solely on appearances, compare Sakura to Sveta. You'll understand why. Although she must first overcome the fainting near Naruto phase, he sees the stalker as a possible friend. He wants her to be able to confront him despite knowing she is outmatched because of this. He will view her as a friend and possibly a sister if she is able to accomplish that, but not as a girlfriend or even a lover. Sveta alone is entitled to that location. From what I've seen of them, Sakura and Sveta are very similar in appearance, Kraden said, nodding after doing the math. Not as much in terms of personality, but still comparable. I think I understand why. Go below deck, Miko said, nodding. Take a nap. Naruto agreed and nodded, saying, tonight we have watch. Do not be concerned. Nothing will happen to us while we're on guard duty. Make sure to wake me before the sun rises, Kraden said, nodding and carrying out the action. The sunrise appeals to me. It serves as a reminder of my reason for living. He then entered the room. Miko and Naruto shrugged and then peered out, searching for any danger. Nothing occurred until they anchored in Tonfon, where the three locals on board chose to disembark first and speak with the dock manager, who recognized them right away. Ryu, Huju, Huzan, surprised, he exclaimed, you're safe. As the adepts disembarked from the ship, Iolio was the last to do so. The three nodded, and when his gaze fell upon Naruto, he said, Sir Uzumaki? Are you also present? The man inquired. That's me, Naruto said, nodding as he glanced at him. Is it possible for me to meet Lady Hinashu? Obviously, the man said, but she'll want to see her children first. He pointed to Huju and Ryu. You've been in high regard with her since you helped her and her husband. After nodding, Naruto turned to face the other members of the group and said, get supplies and go to the southern exit. Miko and Naruto also nodded. One of the Umbra gear can be reached directly. It's on an island to the west, encircled by water, if I had to guess. There may be a bridge that has been concealed, Himi. If so, Search P Synergy can help you locate it. Alright. Himi nodded. I'm going to assume you want me to accompany them? Sveta said. I apologize, Sveta, but a juggernaut is what they need. Unbelievably, you meet the requirements. The grave eclipse must have already had an impact on the area. They'll also need you there. Why not Naruto, too? Sveta asked. Sveta, Miko, Naruto, and I collaborate as a team. I'll need them here anyway. Without everyone present, we cannot set sail. In order to unlock the endless wall, I also need to inquire about the yellow orb. What's up with you and saving royals? Sasuke asked, shaking his head. Can't ignore the call of duty, shrugged Naruto. It's a present. Sasuke remarked. Sounds like a curse to me. Just as a blessing can be a curse in disguise, any curse can be a blessing in disguise. Everything relies on the perspective. Naruto glanced at the others before turning to leave, saying, I'll leave you guys to the one on that island. A gift can be either. We'll locate one if it exists in the city, Kraton said, nodding. Together with the three Sanins, Naruto, Naruto, and Miko had walked to the palace, where they were promptly taken to Lady Hinoshu. Oh, Naruto. It's been a long time, said the woman. It has. I assume you own these three? Naruto pointed to Huzan, Huju, and Ryu. You, Ju. You're safe, she said, giving them both a hug. She turned to face Naruto as she withdrew, saying, Naruto, I appreciate you bringing them back. With a shrug, Naruto said, I was planning on coming by anyway. Even though you were engaged 8 years ago, you would come see me? No, not for private time. Miko was a little taken aback, but Naruto simply shrugged and said, this is more on business. Naruto's face had lost all hint of humor. I need a way up to the endless wall. So, you traveled from my town to retrieve the orb? Naruto answered, if you have it, then yes. I'm traveling with a group, and our goal is to stop the grave eclipse. I'm afraid that the endless wall is the only way to accomplish that. Grasping her dark blue hair, Lady Hinoshu said, I see. She then turned to face the servant nearby and said, bring Yunin here, and tell him to bring the family gem. Your Majesty, I'll take them to the safe. They might find something useful there as well, Hinoshu said. When the servant ran out, he said, yes ma'am. Follow me, you three. After entering what appeared to be a study with Naruto, Naruto, and Miko, she produced a red book. Naruto turned to Miko and asked, do you know why the book is always red with these secret bookcases? Shrugging, Miko said, not a clue. Hinoshu said, I know the sliding bookcase is cliché, but it serves its purpose. Does it matter how crazy it is if it works? The Uzumaki triplets shrugged. Naruto inquired. As she led them into the vault, Hinoshu answered, my sentiments exactly. There are 3 things in here I'd like you to have. She turned to face Naruto, Naruto, and Miko, who were all staring at a single chest that had not been opened. You think that chest is alive? After giving her a quick glance, Naruto approached it and gave it a little kick to open it. Nope. We're going to need this. It appears that Himi was correct. Naruto grinned and said, the Umbra gauntlets. Why I didn't sense it until I stepped into this vault is a mystery. Oh, so, you're looking for the Umbra gear, I take it. That's why my husband wanted this place to be protected from enhanced senses, Hinoshu thought. The only thing strong enough to get rid of the source of this darkness is the Apollo lens, Naruto informed her, and the 3 nodded. I understand. So you think the endless wall has an entrance to the Apollo lens? It's the highest point in the area, and it's blocked off, Naruto said, nodding. That usually indicates that a significant amount of power is located there. Lady Hinoshu gave him a nod and said, okay, but take these with you, as well. She gave him a golden water of life bottle, a 5-point star with a ruby in the middle, a Psi crystal, and a Lord's Sun ring with the Sol insignia on it. I can only hope they help you, too, she said. After giving her a quick glance and nodding, Naruto said, thank you, Lady Hinoshu. What you have done for us is far greater than that. Even contributing to the peace process with Morgul. However, I do question why Bilibin initially opposed peace before giving up a few weeks later. Lord Zamrul just sent 2 people in when they refused the peace talks, Naruto said, shaking his head as he glanced at her. They gave up a week later as a result of those 2 actions. Really? Did 2 fighters defeat an entire army? She shot back, not even the warriors of Vale are that strong. They weren't warriors, Lady Hinoshu. Naruto, Naruto, and Miko chuckled, and then they started laughing. What's so amusing? Now a little irritated, she asked. Naruto then started laughing, saying, that you think a 7-year-old girl and an 11-year-old boy managed to beat down an army. Now bewildered, Lady Hinashu blinked. All right, I'm skipping all the formalities here. What on earth are you discussing? The three were able to settle down after a few minutes. Yes, the two that were sent were children. Naruto shook his head, his smile still containing the laughter he had just displayed. It was actually my wife and I, who are both now 19 years old. We didn't pursue the armies. No, we took a far worse action. What? You were able to reach the capital and make them give up? We did, in a sense. However, we didn't employ force. Honestly, it took us 2 days to get there, and for the next 5 days, Bilibin was in chaos. However, no lives were lost. Naruto shook his head. All the doors were locked when Sveta and I showed up before their leader at the end of the 5th day. We were alone with him. Rewind in front of a man in a well-furnished room stood a 7-year-old Sveta dressed in similar, albeit feminine, attire and an 11-year-old Naruto dressed in Morgul traveling clothes. Every window was closed and barred, every door was locked. The man recognized the woman as a beast man and glared at the two. You. This demon is due to you. Holding up a piece of paper, Naruto said, if you don't want this chaos to continue, sign this. His eye twitched. Why would I act in that way? It's a slave pact, of course. Now, think about this. 2 children, neither older than 12, were able to sneak into your capital during a war and still managed to cause chaos for 5 days without ever being caught, Sveta said in a slightly squeaky voice. Consider what would have happened if we had used any lethal traps in place of paint, streamers, and clothing raids, rather than the non-lethal pranks we employed. Imagine what an army of beastmen could accomplish if 2 children in Morgul could do this. If you don't sign it, we'll go back out. Naruto placed it on a table and said, you sign, or we continue the chaos until you do. In case you decide to change your mind, I'll leave it here, Sveta? With Sveta's nod, the two unexpectedly passed through the wall, and the man glanced at the paper he had left behind. You are essentially giving up your kingdom in the war by signing this document. We, the people of Morgul, will not attack as long as you do not. The borders will remain unaltered, and if you do, we will retaliate with full force. No slaves, no land trading. If you take any prisoners from our lands, we won't take any because anyone caught will be executed right away. You keep your land, and we keep ours. You keep your people, and we keep ours. You strike, we strike. I didn't say they couldn't spill a few drops, but the two who are delivering this are supposed to make sure you sign this non-aggression pact with the least amount of bloodshed possible. Kindly sign the following. 2 lines appeared, one signed by the present king of Morgul. It had another note on it, too. We'll go, you sign the non-aggression pact, go to a roof and yell. I have been an insane idiot. At the top of your lungs, and we'll come grab the signed treaty, make a copy, and bring 1 copy back. Due to a shortage of pranking materials, harmless pranks will turn deadly if you don't sign within 4 days. Fair warning. The man quickly signed it after realizing the point, but it took him 5 more hours to summon the courage to do so. Everyone in the palace gasped when he did, and Naruto and Sveta were now beside him, holding the documents. Took you long enough, Naruto said bluntly. Before opening them both, he simply handed them another piece of paper that had been formed in Naruto's other hand. He nodded at them both and gave one to the Lord, saying, here you go. We're off. Naruto and Sveta leapt from the roof and proceeded to jump from one roof to another. Flashback over. You mean to tell me? Lady Hinashu said, her eye twitching. He sent 2 children. To trick them into being obedient? Miko responded, that about sums it up. The 3 nodded. They could see that the noblewoman was trying hard not to laugh at the irony as she simply stood there. Oh, and 2 years later, I took a test from a warrior of Vale, she said. That's when I became a Master Jupiter Adept. Pranking is a lot of fun. Also a great way to relieve stress, Naruto said. Lady Hinashu burst out laughing, now clutching her stomach. The 3 of them exchanged a smile, thankful for the praise. He saw that the 4 of them were laughing at something, but Naruto's was more subdued, so he turned, though he still had a wry smile, and walked up to Yunin, nodding. She just couldn't handle how Bilibin truly surrendered all those years ago. Naruto shook his head, wondering what was going on, and he saw that Yunin was holding a yellow orb. The yellow orb is that. She hasn't laughed this hard in years, Yunin said, nodding and passing it along. It's amazing that she can laugh at all. As the others began to settle down, Naruto shook his head and said, if it's okay with you, I believe Sana got off easy with Morgul. Their king is still referred to as an insane fool today because Bilibin didn't. Now that I think about it, what is the reason? Are you aware? Yes. Naruto shook his head, saying, my wife and I are pranksters at heart. I humiliated him, his country, and his people to get their surrender. Additionally, we adopted some of each other's character attributes. Miko, calmer now, said, no kidding. Yunin? She shook her head and said, what are you? Never mind. Did you have the sphere with you? Good. Naruto held it up. You'll need the entire set of Umbra gear if you're going there, but you should bring your friends. I assume you haven't gotten it yet? Naruto responded, returning to formality, no ma'am, we don't. That's all that's left to gather before we can actually make it there. Perhaps you and your wife would like to come by sometime after this whole eclipse thing is over? Lady Hinashu nodded. I doubt it somehow, but I'll have to ask her. By all means, if we can, Naruto answered. We should start, Naruto. Gazing out, Naruto remarked. The others simply pursued the next one. There it is again. Oh yeah, it's her, okay, Miko said as he turned around. Naruto sensed the loss of the signature, and although he was unable to decipher it, he had figured it out. Naruto, Miko. Let's get moving. Lady Hinashu? The noblewoman gave him one after he bowed a little. All three narrowed their eyes to the left as they walked out the front gate of the palace. Miko? She answered, I've got a lock, already, then let's go. To the west, the three leapt into the neighboring forests. A woman with dark blue, almost black hair, pale lavender eyes, and a black skin. Tight bodysuit with chain mesh underneath, wearing blue sandals, was standing just outside the darkness of the eclipse, staring at Naruto before glaring at Miko and Naruto. Naruto raised a hand as the two narrowed their eyes, saying, Hinata, why are you here? There was no stutter, no trace of the shy girl she had once been, and she said, I can't let you do this. Naruto stated, I was already engaged, so I didn't see you as a potential spouse, even though I knew you had followed me back to Konoha. I thought of her even though I couldn't get in touch with her. Glaring at the two girls behind Naruto, who silently instructed them to remain behind, she said, I found that out from my father, but I didn't expect there to be two. Naruto stated, there's only one, and she's not here. So, who is that? She pointed to Miko and asked. You can consider yourself dead, my sister, if you do anything to Miko, Naruto, or Sveta. Whether I'm a Konoha shinobi or not, I detest people who harm the people I care about. All right. The beast woman with the pink hair. Hinata thought, she's not worth it. Hinata. Naruto's eyes were now shadowed. Shut it. If you pursue her. With blood-red eyes, Naruto said, you can count on me to get in the way. I take Sveta's side first. Village second. If you try to harm her. Naruto said, turning to leave. I'll harm you. Miko and Naruto exchanged glances before turning to face Hinata. For the record, he is aware that you have been pursuing Sveta. He is aware of your father's identity, but he is more concerned about Sveta than the village. After saying, he never wanted to go back in the first place, Miko left Hinata, who was astonished but mostly managed to hide it. If he had the option, he would have stayed here all those years ago, instead of going back, hiding his true form, hiding his skills, and living in a place where only one person knew his true skill level, Naruto said, shaking her head as she glanced at Hinata. What would you do if you were in his shoes? A village where almost everyone despises you for a reason you were unaware of until you left? Or a place where you are so adored by the majority of the population, if not all of them, that the entire nation's royal family is requesting that you wed their heiress, whom you care for more than you do yourself? Naruto turned and began to walk. Then Naruto abandoned her. Hinata had to admit that she was neither amused nor pleased with what was happening, and she then twisted to face Naruto and said, I know. I must therefore see for myself. If he doesn't return, I don't want to lose him. I know you don't, said Naruto, grinning. He also does. Hinata, you'll have to stop pursuing Sveta if you want to be around him, Naruto said, losing her smirk. If you attempted to kill her, my brother, no, I'm not merely a changed clone, would eventually kill you. I am aware, and for that reason, I didn't initially intend to murder her. With a raised eyebrow, Naruto said, and what exactly did you plan? I was hoping she could assist him. Hinata's head lowered a little. I couldn't be there for him when he needed it most. In a way that I haven't been able to. If she is more capable of protecting him than I am, I'll let her go after that. I'm going to leave him alone. Before glancing out, Naruto hummed, Naruto is returning to Tonfon. Go west. Locate her and request a 1. On .1 meeting. To keep the others from knowing, cover your face. All you want to see is Sveta. Fight her only. If she kicks you in the ass, don't be shocked. Naruto nodded and began to leave, but Hinata said, if that happens, I'll just warp out. But please. Keep this a secret from him. I must know. I must witness it for myself. 5 hours later. Hinata was wearing a different outfit than before, dark purple armor that was flexible but skin tight, hair of the same color, and a mask with 2 slits for eyes that appeared to have 3 concentric circles. Sveta had just returned from her beast form, but the rest of her group was frozen in place with ice that wouldn't melt. Hinata and Sveta were both exhausted and staring at each other. Why me out of all of us? Only their heads weren't frozen, so the others were wondering why Sveta had asked. Though the two were equal, Hinata had been taken aback by Sveta's power, which tripled when she revealed what she could have done to Naruto, even though she would never have done it. From what she knew, Sveta was fighting on a level above Junin but below Kage. She had given no indication that she was a Hyuga at all, although she did send enough energy for an ice horn into her body after sending a P synergy pulse through a palm strike that damaged her kidney, but that was the only indication that she was protective of the blonde, as the two were clearly exhausted and had multiple damage to their fighting suits. Sveta's ability to use chakra was even more unexpected, but then again, she shouldn't be. Naruto most likely trained her well. Hinata simply nodded after considering everything. I approve. The others were taken aback by this, and Hinata straightened up, though her breathing was still irregular. If you must know, my name is Hikari, Hinata said. I've gotten what I came for. Sveta was shocked that Kushina wasn't attacking, and Hinata assumed that she knew her mother based on her look of recognition. Hold on, Hikari, if you're truly the person I know, and you're a Hyuga. Kushina yelled, and Hinata turned to face her. Hinata turned away from her and answered, I am. How did you get here, then? Since I don't know you, that isn't your concern. She said, if I knew you before, then I am sorry, but I do not remember you. Sveta attempted to read her thoughts, but was unsuccessful. Beastwoman, do not try that again. Her tone was flat, but there was a hint of sadness. Surprised, Sveta asked, how did you really believe that Arcanus wouldn't have told me about your spirit sense? Everyone was taken aback by this, but Sveta was even more surprised that she was attempting to leave. I have been impressed by you, after what Arcanus told me about my daughter, which initially confused me, Sveta said. After all, he was her father. You follow him for that reason? Arcanus is nothing more than a... Kushina asked, her eyes widening. Wait, you don't mean... He showed me both of my daughters, apparently. He asserted that the first, not the one I married, was actually his. The second was someone else's. I had to think after learning about Naruto and how much he loved this woman. I would feel better about not being able to go back if she could help him and he could help her. We are aware of a return route, Kushina said. It is more dangerous than you realize if there is. There's no way back safely. The P-Synergy Vortex technique might even be fatal. According to what I've learned, others are more likely to experience memory loss and brain damage. She began to leave, saying, and for the record, it is not worth going back if I forget why I'm going there. Sveta is strong, she said, turning her head just enough to reveal a portion of her mask before moving it slightly. More powerful than all of you. To endure the suffering she endures and remain resilient. Naruto is in the same boat. My little girl. Isn't true. I beg you to assist her if you see her. If you know who I mean. Hikari had revealed her left eye, which was worried. She put the mask back on and said, farewell. Then she twisted away. The others were able to move as the ice that had trapped them broke as she did. Sveta was truly shell-shocked, but not because of what had transpired or what Hikari had said. No, it was because, before being excluded, she managed to capture something in Hikari's heart, and she knew it right away. How come she would regret this? Is she unwilling to assist her? No, that isn't it. After a few sniffs, she realized it was telepathy, and she heard Naruto's voice repeating, you are correct, Sveta. Naruto. Is Naruto secure? Miko and I are still with him, yes, Tonfon is where we are. What prevented you from returning? As it happens, we had an unforeseen guest. A certain stalker from Hyuga. I just fought her mother, who was able to block out my spirit sense, but not before I found regret. Sveta, it wasn't for anything she said, it was a test. Though it wasn't Hinata's mother, Naruto, Miko, and I are aware that she is present. She explained to me why she truly desired that. I don't understand. Is it Hinata herself, rather than her mother? However, if she was. She regretted what she had to do because it was necessary. She wanted to be certain that you would do everything in your power to keep him safe. Naruto said, probably why she gave a fake name. Even from an unknown threat. A name that Kushina recognized in memory loss? Well, her mother's name, most likely. I wouldn't be shocked. Did she like you, then? That's what she said. All right, she won't attack you anymore. Simply, keep Naruto in the dark. Simply state that it was whoever she said she was. Naruto appeared to change. It's better if he doesn't know. Oh no, Naruto is dubious. And Miko is as well. It's time to avoid questions once more. Don't tell him. We should go back because we have the Umbra Cowl, she said, shaking her head as she felt Naruto leave her thoughts. When Naruto finds the one there, we'll be prepared to leave. Kushina was off, but the others nodded. Kushina? I am. As they left the temple, like Arya, Kushina confessed, I was truly curious about what Hikari said and did. Sveta said, she only seemed to have business with me. That isn't it. Something appeared to be. Her personality didn't seem to change much, but it's her presence, Kushina said, her voice now betraying her confusion. Although it felt different, she might have used a Juken strike. Like technique. Attacking the interior but leaving the exterior unaffected? According to Kushina, that would be it. She hit my kidney like that, but that was it. Sveta made the point. You saw what I did after that. I understand, but even though everything suggests that it was Hikari Hyuga, I still don't think it was her. Or perhaps a family member, Kushina said. You're overreacting, don't you think? Perhaps she didn't remember anything else, and the memory was accurate. It is not unusual in those kinds of circumstances to learn a new fighting style that is similar to the old one. Uzumaki Rule 19. Never question the gut of an Uzumaki. Kushina said this as if it were true. Our instincts are right damn near 100% of the time, and my instincts say that wasn't Hikari Hyuga, but probably a relative. Was there a sister for Hikari? Sveta inquired. Not one. The last time I saw her husband, a jerk, he had a brother. Kushina. Hizashi is dead. If that was actually Hikari Hyuga and one of her daughters had brighter hair than Heishi, then it was clearly someone else. Heishi has 2 daughters, one of whom stalked your son. As Kakashi noted, Hyuga rarely have the shade of hair she did. Heishi has to deal with 2 daughters and a cousin. I've had a few encounters with said cousin, the Green Beast. Green Beast? Despite her confusion, Sveta chose not to use spirit sense. Is he still obsessed with proving himself to you? Kakashi let out a groan. Oh, you don't know. He has been ravenous. Before I came here, he was the only person in the village with whom I had ever threatened to lose my temper, let alone lose it altogether. That awful, and I'd say you had a rough time with the differences between here and home, Kushina inquired. Still irritated at the mere thought of the Green Beast, Kakashi responded, at the very least, I'd prefer being here than being next to him. Understatement of the century. Kushina shrugged and said, makes sense, I suppose. The good news is that Naruto hasn't met him as far as I know. Kakashi noted, I know he hasn't while I'm around. All right. That must be satisfying, Kushina said. Kakashi. Would you mind? Knowing what Sveta was asking, Kakashi just told her to continue. After a few seconds, he recoiled visibly. All right, I'm going to use beast form and send him as far away as I can if I see him. She shivered and said, that man is insane. Kakashi said, welcome to my world. Honestly, I'm not so sure my own sanity would survive your world. She then looked up. At least it could be worse. How? Curious now, Kakashi questioned, what could be worse than Naruto becoming Guy? Pointing a shadow warrior with her left fist, Sveta said, all of those turning into him. Everyone else prepared for a brawl as Kakashi narrowed his eyes in response. Point taken. Kakashi said, his expression solemn. She was stopped by Kushina, who said, Sveta, you're still hurt. Let's take care of this. Kushina gave her a death glare, but she stopped when he said, but what would Naruto do if you were injured? She asked. Sveta retreated, not wanting him to lose his mind. The others handled it, but she kept an eye out for more, just in case. It was adequate, but because of Naruto, she detested being motionless. It was simply not in her nature. Kushina, Kakashi, Sasuke, and Sakura noticed that it took them an hour or so to return to Tonfon, which should have taken less time, but Sveta kept glaring at anything that dared to approach, so they backed off for some reason. But Himi smirked at it. The others didn't know why, but she did. Then Himi approached her and said, are you upset that you were unable to fight? After giving her a quick blink, Sveta nodded and asked, how did you know? Everyone stared at Himi as she said, "Your anger has been scaring them away." "What? Are they afraid of Sveta's anger? Even mine doesn't," Kushina shot back. "Are you aware of why?" "Sincerely, I don't," Sveta shot back. Her left shoulder was tapped by Himi, who said, "The answer lies here." Now that she knew, Sveta's eyes widened, and she looked out before speaking in a tone that said, "One soldier, out here, now." "That's much better." She sighed in relief, then turned to Himi. "Waiting is hard enough, but fighting lets me focus elsewhere." A single shadow warrior appeared, a little afraid of her, the rage still present. Her left arm changed into a more bestial form, and she punched it once, sending it flying into a mountain 400 yards away. Himi replied, "I know, and I can tell you that that was the reason I brought it up." As her arm turned back, Kushina simply glanced at Sveta and said, "Himi, I owe you one." After glancing at the others, Himi leaned into Sveta's ear and said, "We ought to speak later. I learned something that I know you won't like." Despite giving her a strange look, Sveta nodded and said, "Private, I'd guess." As they proceeded to leave the darkness, Himi shrugged and said, "The subject doesn't want it known to anyone, but I already knew." By the time they returned, it was almost evening. Before leaving in the morning, they made the decision to remain at the inn. After gathering every jinni in the vicinity, Himi, Sveta, and Kushina were standing on the roof of the inn. "What I'm going to tell you cannot affect your actions when the time comes," Himi stated in a solemn tone. "What are you saying?" Sveta inquired. "Given who is present, I assume this is about Naruto, but why wouldn't he want us to know? He most likely believes you'll attempt to prevent him from doing so. You too. That's why the others are unaware of it." Himi acknowledged, "Kraden might, but I'm not sure." "Does Naruto intend to give his life in our place?" Himi nodded and sighed. "There is a problem with the Apollo lens. The Apollo lens would kill the user if they lacked sufficient P synergy. Because they knew Naruto and his sisters were at the palace, this caused Sveta and Kushina to glance at it. "No. When I eventually locate him, he will." Sveta grabbed her wrist to stop her, saying, "Kushina, hold on. That doesn't seem to be the end of it." Himi gave a nod. Kushina probably just guessed this, but he intends to use it himself. Sveta gave Kushina a glare, and she faltered, "But you just said." "I am aware. However, I see him riding a few so-called gloom scorpnas into the Belinsk port on a full moon night. I don't understand why the Eclipse Tower is still standing and not posing any threat." Then Sveta remembered what he had told her. Rewind. "Even if I'm killed, eventually, I'll reform." Final flashback. Sveta's eyes widened as her hold on Kushina's wrist relaxed, and just as she was about to pull away, she said, "That's what he's planning." Kushina was abruptly stopped. "To commit suicide?" "No. He's testing an ability," Sveta replied, "but that's not what I mean." "But he wouldn't be able to use any ability to get out of the P synergy cost," Himi said. "Kushina, are you aware of how the Biju survive? He's already absorbed all of Kurama's essence, and has all of his abilities," Sveta said, making Kushina stiffen before her eyes widened. "Including that one." Kushina's eyes widened even more as she said, "You mean?" Sveta looked back at the palace and nodded, saying, "Yes, I do. It makes sense why it would be him. And I understand why he chose not to tell us or the others in the group." Himi nodded and Sveta nodded, saying, "He was afraid you'd try to stop him from doing what he had to. But if he's... Since I have the eternal mate mark on my left shoulder, I am the only one who is aware of the ability. It will disappear if he dies. For me, it will be the most significant indicator. That's how I discovered him following that Harun village disappearance. Through the mark he gave me, I was able to use spirit sense to locate him. His pulse served as a signal to inform us of his location." Despite looking at her, Kushina was unable to agree, saying, "I'm not going to let him." Sveta said, "We have to. I'll be the first to admit that I don't like it, but I know what he's after. Only then will you have every right to kill me if it truly kills him and he doesn't return. I'll simply stand by and let you do it. I want you to kill me, Kushina, if my belief in him leads to his actual demise. That right would belong to you and you alone." "I'm here with Sveta," Himi said, nodding. "You would be the only one with that right." Kushina was not pleased. "All right, but when he returns, he'll get the beating of his life, and I won't like it." "I would join you on that," Sveta said, nodding. "He will not get away with this unharmed." Sveta had initially believed Naruto had inherited Kushina's vicious smile from Anko. It turned out to be genetic, just like his fox grin. Once again, the adepts and shinobi were on the sea. Sveta and Hinata had been at odds for 5 weeks since they had left Tonfon with the yellow orb. The fact that Hinata had already taken the test was currently only known by Sveta and Naruto. Though none of them revealed it, Kushina, Sveta, and Himi were aware of Naruto's true intentions. As it was, Kushina was observing Naruto as he assisted Sveta into the complete set of Umbra gear. Sveta, I know we can't wear that set, but... Sveta cut in, it's not just that, Kushina. She was wearing mostly dark purple clothes, gauntlets, a ring underneath them, knuckles over them, a cloak, a hood, and, strangely, boots. I have to do this. Naruto might not be able to with his. Sveta gave Kushina a look. If he can't, then it falls to me. We don't know the potency and power of all sets we have on our end. I know that Naruto, Naruto and Miko all have the same power and potency, but while the energy used is the same, we don't know if the original has limits theirs doesn't, or if it's more powerful, with more of a drawback. We just don't know. Seeing them side by side, I say they have identical signatures and potency. While ours seem to emit more of the energy, it somewhat restricts our chakra, but not our P synergy. Naruto made the point. I use the Dark Jupiter blade with pure strength. No chakra or P synergy involved. You've seen how I use Zanbatus all the time, right? The two women gave a nod. Same thing. No chakra. No P synergy. Just pure strength and speed. The three of us are juggernauts. Miko is the mind at its peak. I am the body at its peak. Naruto has us both. He just doesn't use the strength he has, unless he turns into his beast form. By going into our beast form, Miko, Naruto and I essentially have every part of our skills maximized, and then the boosts kick in. Sveta began, I've actually been wondering something. How have you been able to control the beast form with such ease from the get-go? It's confused everyone as to how. Naruto gave a small smile. Sveta, we're at peace with the beast within. You still struggle. It's why we're in control, and not the beast. We are one and the same. That concept holds true with our inner beasts. That inner peace is what got us to master it so quickly. Kushina noted, but what about Kurama? Surely he'd try something to make it harder. I'll be honest, and say that I was surprised myself. He didn't know where he was, he couldn't feel any chakra in the world itself, and he had found no trace of chakra in anyone around us. He mellowed out after a month or so. I met Sveta a week later, though she brought me in to her father first. The group turned to Naruto, who was standing by the entrance to the room. We've already docked in Tonfon. I thought I should let you know. Kushina gave him a look. Why did she bring you to her father? I mean, he's royalty, isn't he? Sveta said, it was because of what I saw. The expressions of Kushina and Naruto became confused. She was as perplexed as Kushina because Naruto never allowed her to see when they first met. When Sveta saw this, she became a little perplexed. I figured you'd know, Naruto. You live in his mind, after all. Naruto kept most of his memories of his first trip to Weyard sealed. Even Miko and I don't know much about it. Miko came into the picture when he was sent back, and I came in when he completed the Oroku no Jutsu. Oroku no Jutsu? Inquired Kushina. Never heard of that one. I'd be surprised if you did. It's one of my anti-pervert jutsu, but most girls don't understand why I made it, and I wasn't even trying to make it that way, either. Acknowledged Naruto. Observing Sveta's scowl, he went on, Naruto came with a built-in personality, which was more like Anko. Sadistic, seductive, and most importantly, hot as hell. The hot comment is needed, because she'd kill me if I said she was too provocative. And she is. But the reason I came up with that particular jutsu was not because of its usage on perverts, which I only found out afterwards. When Naruto started flirting with Iruka Sensei, he gave her a grimace. Oh, come off it. You're the one that did the jutsu. Naruto shot back, you were supposed to have clothes on. Naruto retorted, you know it was a good prank. I was already in trouble from painting the Hokage monument in Kill.me orange and trying to run from Chunin and Junin while wearing resistance seals, and having my physical ability at less than 20% due to using beast form P synergy to look younger than I really was. I did not need that. Naruto's head lowered a little. Fine. Naruto sighed and shook his head. She's also the originator of a lot of my pranks back in the village. She's more sadistic than I am, and therefore, more of a prankster. Now intrigued, Kushina questioned, if busting perverts wasn't the original reason, then what was? Naruto shook his head and stated, it was for Miko. I was trying to come up with a way to get Miko out of my mind with her own body. Since I couldn't perform a normal clone to save my life, and for the record, I still can't even as I am now, I figured a transformation would have to do until I got the clone jutsu down. The Oroku no Jutsu is the result. A true transformation. The first time I got it down, Naruto had gained a form. Miko was surprised. Me, even more so. Sveta asked, "Why would you be surprised? I mean, that's what you were going for, right?" Naruto acknowledged, "It is, but that's not what got me. What got me was, I didn't even know about Naruto at the time, and I sometimes saw an astral projection of Miko over my shoulder, keeping me calmer than I would have been. The next thing that got me. Miko was hovering over her left shoulder, like she did with me. But I was over the right shoulder, more confused than an owl during the day." They all nodded after understanding the analogy. Mostly to get clarification, Sveta questioned, "So, Naruto got her own form from the jutsu?" The two blondes gave a nod. "And you let them both out every now and then, I presume?" Naruto gave a nod. "Naruto actually took to the lessons Anko was trying to teach me in secret. Her fighting style, the Hebaiken, went into my style. It's why I'm much more limber than Sveta. Yeah, and I did even better than he did. We even learned one of her snake jutsu, the shadow snake hand." Naruto remarked, "We don't use her version, Naruto." "I know, but still." A little taken aback, Kushina questioned, "Wait, you came up with another version?" Both of the blondes gave a nod. "Thing is, what we use is something that Kurama taught us to use in Weird. Something you used on him several times over." Then Kushina nodded, understanding. Naruto and Naruto nodded, "So, you used the Uzumaki chains, huh?" "Oh, I remember those," announced Sveta. "They're the ones you used on the Vortex Guardian in the Tep Ruins, right?" Naruto gave a nod. "One and the same. I immobilized him, and you took him out." Sveta gave a nod. Sveta said, "That was a tough one. I didn't think we could handle it, to be honest. If I was alone, I definitely wouldn't have lived." Sveta was a little perplexed. "That was the third P synergy vortex I had come across, you know?" she said. "You saw one without me there?" "I was actually on my way to the royal ball that day. I passed by it, and knew what it was on sight. It was my second one, and there was storm in the area. I was on guard, in case something tried to attack. After my first encounter with a vortex, I learned quickly there was bound to something powerful nearby. Turns out, something different happened. It wasn't a monster that hit me." Naruto gave a headshake. "I think that's enough for now. Tonfon is almost overrun by darkness. If we don't move soon, we could end up losing to the Tuaparang. We have to get there before they do. We've got 9 Jin set to each of the locals. That should help them." Sveta said, "You don't have any Jin." After giving a headshake, Naruto grinned. "I've got 10 set to me." They were taken aback. Now perplexed, Kushina questioned, "Why don't you use them?" Naruto then met her gaze and said, "Because they know I don't need their abilities under normal circumstances. But this hardly qualifies as normal. They're ready in case I need to use the Ultima. They don't like, and neither do I, but we know that it might be needed." Ultima? Naruto was not perplexed, but Sveta was. Based on the voice, Sveta and Kushina could tell it wasn't a good thing. "You're kidding me. You're not seriously thinking of using that, are you?" "Naruto, you know that I don't use it unless absolutely necessary, and if I do use it, try to get everyone out of the line of fire. Summoning him is not a good idea, because even if I do have the correct Jin, he's still hard to handle." Now worried, Kushina questioned, "To summon Ultima, what do you need?" 9 Jupiter, 6 Mercury, 2 Mars and 2 Venus. Sveta said, "But wait, that means you need 19, not 10, unless..." Naruto shook his head, saying, "Unless I can bypass the Jupiter requirement, which I can. I've only summoned him twice, and both times were not pretty." The end result had Anko, who had snuck him out as Miko to a bandit camp, have a major orgasm. There was a warning in Sveta's voice, but she chose to ignore it. "Naruto. Believe it or not, I was close myself." The slight venom in his tone made it clear to them what he really meant when he said, "We had specifically agreed that no one was to know about it, its origins, or how to truly use it. Naruto, Miko, and myself are the only ones able to summon him. If I do not insult him, provoke him, or do anything of the like." This summon was beyond his control. The tone told Kushina it was a very bad idea, even though she would normally have ignored it. Her instincts told her that she would most likely die if she disregarded it. And that did not bode well. Sveta said, "You can't control it, can you?" But she was aware of the response. Naruto gave a headshake. "No one can. He tolerates me because he was once friends with Kurama, but he doesn't like me because I'm human, and once held him." Kushina noted, "This one sounds different than most." Naruto walked away after turning around. That's because he is. He remained silent. Sveta gave Naruto a look. Don't look at me. I'm not saying on him. I may be insane and have a bit of bloodlust, but I'm not stupid, nor do I have a death wish. Kushina thought, he must be that hard to control. Naruto simply approached the door. Just hope we don't have to summon him. If we do. If you even attempt to strike him, he'll kill you. And we can't stop him. You wouldn't stop him from striking us. Naruto came to a halt at the door. Sveta, if he turns his sights on you, you're dead, and so is everyone that gets in his way. Not even me, Miko and Naruto combined stand a chance. Even Kurama wouldn't stand a chance. Now that she was aware of its strength, Kushina nodded, her body tensed. She gave Sveta a look and told her not to question it in a quiet voice. The message had reached her. Everyone in the group was above deck once they had stepped outside. After glancing at everyone, Naruto mentally made a list of everyone present. Sakura, Hime, and Matthew are the Venus adepts. Tyrell, Iolio, and Sasuke are the Mars adepts. Amity, Kushina, and Reef are the Mercury adepts. Karis, Sveta, Miko, Naruto, and himself are the Jupiter adepts. Next was Kakashi, a Sol adept that Naruto had discovered. A light one. This trip would help him, but he could only use a few points in his branch. Alright, everyone, we know that this is not going to be an easy task. Naruto began. We all know that this will be hard. I mean, we're a group of 17 going up against an army. If anyone said we were crazy for trying to get this done, I would be the first to say, what was your first clue? However, that is irrelevant. What would you say if someone asked why you did this? Perhaps, I was a crazy idiot, or even something like, I was hoping to die. But you want to know what I'd say? Everyone nodded, confused now. I'd tell them I did it, because no one else would. I did it, because I have a reason to do it. I did it, because I grew up with nothing, and I didn't want to lose what I gained. I did it to protect those I care for. I do this for my family. Naruto, Miko, Kushina, and everyone, including Kraden, turned to face him as he said, I do this for my friends. I do this for the people that I have grown to care for. I do this for a world I have come to know as my home. I do this. Because, even if I die, I know I went out doing what I believed was right. I do this, so that, even if I die, I will not regret a thing. Then he gave them all a look. What's important to me, is not whether I succeed or fail. It's whether or not I have the courage to try. As a Jupiter adept, I'm attuned to wind and lightning, but I have the will of fire within me, and I will not allow these idiots harm that which is precious to me. With the exception of Kushina, who had a dejected expression on her face, everyone now had a determined expression. Much like his dad. In the air, Naruto lifted his fist. You ready for this? They all said, yes, except for Kraden, who was now grinning. Naruto questioned, what was that? I couldn't hear you. Are you prepared for this? I asked. Yes. Then let's go kick their asses. Right? Everyone nodded, with Kushina, Kakashi, and Kraden sporting shit. Eating smiles and the teens filled with determination. They watched as Naruto guided them through the darkness that had nearly reached the docks after being the last people off the ship. You know, I'm surprised he gave a speech that got them into the mood so quickly. Kraden made the point. Kushina noted, he got that from his father. I could have sworn I saw Minato Sensei floating behind him as he spoke. Kakashi continued. Kushina acknowledged, so dumb, yet so motivating. That's Minato for you. Sad but true. Listen, Kushina. There is something about his plan that you should know, in case he didn't tell you. If it's about the Apollo lens, then Sveta and I already know, Kushina said. He told you? With her blade out now, Kushina acknowledged, Hime did. Then you don't care? Oh, I care. I'm just holding Sveta to her word. If her mark disappears during this, then she'll stand there and ask me to kill her. Kushina replied. It would be because her faith in her husband had failed her. Despite being brief, the journey to the Endless Wall was fraught with battles. The teens weren't slowing down and were dispatching the Shadow Army's remnants more easily than they ought to have. Recently, they had encountered them more frequently, primarily the seafaring type. Before long, they arrived at a door that had 3 holes in it. After Naruto inserted the 3 orbs into the appropriate slots, the door opened by itself. When they entered, they noticed a tiny flame. I knew I should have asked about that. Iolio used precisely what Naruto hoped they had and said, let me handle this. Peace synergy with heat. Naruto gave Iolio a look. Would have been nice to know about that before. With sheepishness, Iolio acknowledged, didn't need to use it until now. As the warm updraft carried them all to the top of the area, Naruto shook his head. When they reached the summit, they had a view of the adjacent wall. The Shadow Army stood in their way, but it was untarnished. Before launching 3 doses of spark plasma down the wall, Naruto gave a sadistic smirk and said, "I think you're in our way." Sakura's Quake Sphere sent a strong pulse through the earth. Ragnarok was the name of the many swords made of P-synergetic light that Matthew sent down. They were frozen by ice that formed in several locations before breaking. Glacier from all over Mercury adepts. 3 lava eruptions followed, including pyroclastic eruptions from Tyrell, Iolio, and Sasuke. Mostly unopposed, they moved down the wall. Naruto noticed an upward spiraling vortex. Naruto said to them, "That's our way in. Anyone want out?" Nobody said anything. He leapt into the vortex and said, "Then let's go." The others did the same. When they came across breakable rocks on their ascent, Tyrell immediately applied Crush P synergy to them. It was shattered with a single kick or punch, unless Kushina got it first. On the way up, Sakura and Matthew actually competed to solve more puzzles. Naruto simply observed how swiftly and without command they adapted to their roles. Kraden knew it would work because he had seen how well they collaborated. He glanced at Naruto, who was grinning but still alert for anything, and said, "Perhaps they can be like their parents, and do what has to be done." Even though I disagree with him on Alex, he seems to be the team's unifying factor. Compared to the last one, which had only 8 people plus me, this one is bigger. I'm not a leader, but I'm also not a fool. I don't trust Alex, but he's doing what I can't. They arrived at what appeared to be a wall with a small inscription after an hour, as it turned out, the Apollo Sanctum's gate. The first thing they saw was a statue of a single-eyed rock. Both Kraden and Naruto had first-hand knowledge of the statue's identity as the Wise One. In their minds, it conveyed the following. The straight-eyed one will pass. Then their chakra and P-synergy reserves were fully replenished. Everyone, including Kraden, looked around, pointing out, "I didn't get that. He who sees straight shall pass" could mean a lot of things. Sakura looked around but nodded in agreement. She noticed a fire-like symbol on the wall and a flight of stairs heading to the left. Then she saw the shadows on the group's wall. Then Naruto approached the stairs and nodded when he reached the top. Something tells me part of the answer is this way. Sakura and Matthew made the decision to approach him, and the others soon followed. Then, as they moved toward the rear of the space, Sakura figured it out. She said, "Tyrell, use Crush on this post." They all saw the wheel with the fire in it when Tyrell said, all right." Then Matthew deduced Sakura's thoughts. On the way back to the center, the wheel suddenly fell down a hole. "I get it. The wheel has to. We need to plug up that hole somehow." Sakura nodded, but before he could press a tiny button, Amity was already there. Naruto became aware of this. "Amity, don't move until a wheel passes you." "Huh?" Amity listened, astonished. "Tyrell." The Mars adept nodded, applied another crush to the post, and the wheel reached the gate. However, Kushina and Kakashi were not shocked when the group returned to the gate and saw what Naruto, Sakura, and Matthew had seen. Though they lacked evidence, they had made a guess. Everyone understood and nodded. According to Karis, "Now I get it. He who sees straight shall pass." It means that. Naruto concluded for her, "We need to align a shadow with the picture on the wall." By pushing the wheel, Iolio caused the shadow to cover the gate, which lowered to reveal a set of stairs to the right and a wind-like symbol. Before moving on to the next section, Naruto glanced at the others, who nodded. Although it was a little more difficult to decipher, Sakura found it easy. Now that she knew what needed to be done, she guided them through it with ease. The sequence of events was as follows. Tyrell used Crush, Karis used Whirlwind, they jumped across a gap, and Karis discovered a Psi Crystal, which shocked Naruto because he knew they were extremely uncommon. Karis used Whirlwind on another fan, and Sakura used Growth before the wheel emerged. In order to get the next gate down, they pushed the wheel to the right and retreated after it had reached the gates. Because of the water droplets on the wall, Naruto then determined that it was the Mercury Gate. To the left of the entrance was this one. This one was easier because there were fewer tasks to complete, but the fact that there were no monsters around had confused them. While they concentrated on the puzzles, they were unaware that Naruto had been using killing intent to ensure the locals didn't do anything. The Venus Gate, which resembled grass, appeared after the Mercury Gate was taken down. Sakura, Matthew, Tyrell, and Himi were left to handle this one. The others were resting up at the gate, but the four of them could manage it. Sveta gave Naruto a look. You're a natural leader, Naruto. Softer than his real leading voice, Naruto answered, like I said back on the boat. If I don't do it, who will? Iolio said, I agree with Sveta here. You'd make one hell of a pirate captain. Karis gave a nod of agreement. I think you'd be able to lead a country without many problems. Kushina burst out laughing as Naruto blushed a little. He glanced at the gate and said, You're just saying that. I'm doing this because it needs to be done. I don't know why you guys are following me, even my mom and sensei, but you all seem to think I have the right idea. I'm following because I want to see what you're really capable of, Kakashi said. Not the horse shit that you've been feeding the council. Kushina shook her head as Naruto glanced at her. As much as I want to say the same as Kakashi, I'm afraid my reason is different. True, you're acting like your father when you're leading, but at other times, you act like I did when I was a kid. Besides, I'm curious about Ultima. I mean, I know that it's powerful, you put that much out already, but still. She stopped when she heard her name, Kushina, because she didn't think he would use it that way. If I summon him then that means all other options are out. Kakashi asked, What are you talking about? Kakashi. Sighed Naruto. We should wait for the others to get back before I tell you that. Sakura, Himi, Tyrell, and Matthew need to hear this too. And I'll tell you why I don't want to use it, even in this junction. At that moment, a wheel with grass in the middle entered the space, prompting Naruto to stand up and push it into position, exposing a woman's face. When the four of them returned, they made the decision to eat. Before they proceeded, they required it. When they were done, Naruto raised his voice. Most of you already know of this, so I'll summarize that part. I've got a summon that I don't like using. Period. The only ones present that know of its existence are Miko and Naruto. His real name is Omega, but we call him Ultima. I need to warn you about this, in case I have to summon him. Naruto was now the center of attention, and although he was wearing a serious expression, Kraden, Sveta, Kushina, and Kakashi could see the fear in his eyes. Confused, Karis questioned, if it's a summon, then shouldn't it be easy to control? Naruto gave a headshake. Omega can't be controlled. It's impossible. In the elemental nations, one person came close, but he was a legend. He was the very first Jinchuriki, and the father of the Q no Biju the elemental nations know today. Now, perplexed, Sasuke asked, wait, one person fathered each of them? He had benefited greatly from his trip to Weird. Now that he knew they would support him if he needed it, he was more forthcoming with those around him. With a sigh, Naruto said, in a way, yes. The shinobi's eyes widened as he said, to this day, we only know him by his title, the Rakudo Sennin, or Sage of the Six Paths. He didn't literally give birth to them, but all of the original 9 Biju, of which, only one has been replaced, consider him their father. The Q no Biju are different in form, but all of them have the same source. Their beings made entirely of chakra. For those of you who don't know, chakra is the combination of physical energy tied to the cells of the body, and the spiritual energy gained from training and experience. Kakashi gave that a nod. So, if you don't mind my asking, what's with the legend? I know it holds some significance, but how? But Kushina did recall the legend. Even though Kurama didn't confirm it for her, she sensed where this was headed. Sochi. Don't mean that the summon you have is the source? Naruto gave a solemn nod. The Jubi, the 10-tailed beast of destruction, was split into 10 pieces. The body, and 9 pieces of energy which formed the Q no Biju. Most of you know Kurama is the Kyuubi's true name. Shukaku is the name of the Ichibi. Matabi is the name of the Nibi. Sanbi is named Isobu. Yanbi is named Son Goku. Gobi is named Koko. Rokubi is named Seiken. Nanabi is named Shomei. Hachibi is named Gyuki. The original Kyuubi was named Kurama. Out of all of them, Kurama is the only one that had chosen an heir, because he was the only one that had a chance of truly dying. I was that heir. And because of this, the origin came to me about it. They were all reeling from shock and surprise at this. I told him what I knew, showed him what I could do. Since I had my full set of Jinni with me at the time, and know they never left my side, Omega made me a deal. The deal was I used the Jin version of summoning to bring out his true form. He has been watching over me since then, and I know that he doesn't like me because I'm human. He tolerates me, though, but I can't control him. It's not just his true body that comes with the summoning. It's his personality, his soul, all but his original energy source. I'm not giving you the summoning requirements, because I've got all the Jin I need to do so. Being as good as I am in my branch, I can use my P synergy in order to bypass the Jupiter requirement in summoning. If not for that, I'd need a total of 19 Jin in order to summon him. 9 of which would be Jupiter Jin. They were all taken aback by this. Sveda's eyes grew wide as she asked, "It takes that much power to summon him?" Naruto clarified, "All of that and 20% of my chakra. That's effectively 2 tails worth of chakra. When I summon him, I just tell him who I don't want dead. If someone I don't want dead attacks him, their life is forfeit. This is why I'm warning you about him. If I summon him, do not strike him. I cannot help you if you do. If anyone provokes him in any way, he will strike, regardless of if I want them alive or not. This is the only warning you all will get, because this situation may need him." Sasuke asked, "Do you really think it'll be that bad? I mean, summoning something with that much power?" Naruto gave him a look. Naruto's face was flat as he said, "Yes, I don't like it, but if I have to summon him, I will. When I do, you all need to drop what you're doing, and get in a group, preferably near me, and not any enemies. The only way to guarantee your safety from him is if you're not in a group targeted by him." What form does he take? Aside from the 4 main Jupiter summons, the 4 main Mercury summons, the first 2 in Venus and Mars summons as well, you won't be able to see any summon from me, as I hold no other summons, aside from Ultima. Basically, if it's not one of the originals, then it's Ultima with me. Miko went on, "Same with me and Naruto. We both have 10 Jin as well, but we usually keep them on standby, for a summoning, or set for when we need a slight boost, which isn't often. RP synergy, however, doesn't change when Jin are set. Same with Naruto." Naruto gave a nod of agreement. "We don't exactly need the boosts they give, but they help. They've also been a big help psychologically, too. You can learn a lot from the Jin," she acknowledged. Naruto gave that a nod. "Any other questions before we move on? Because from this point on, it's the home stretch. We can't stop after this. If we do, we will lose. Hopefully, we can win this without Ultima." The others gave a nod. Although captivated by the story, Kraden was curious to learn more. "Is there any chance I could learn of these Biju?" "Maybe later, Kraden, as that subject has a lot to tell, and we don't have a lot of time." Naruto acknowledged. "Sorry, but once we survive this, I'll tell you all that I know on the subject." "Any others?" Nobody replied. Naruto's voice was more muted, but he also had to pretend to be composed, as he said, "Okay then, let's get going." He took over as leader after that. "The Tuaparang will be here any minute, so we have to get this done fast." As Naruto, Naruko, and Miko pushed the wheels into position, creating the shadow of a head on the wall, the group stood up and nodded, and the object fell. At the top of the stairs was the last path, and they were all prepared to enter. The brightness of the light was overwhelming. Only Kakashi, Naruto, Naruko, Miko, and Sveta were spared and sent back. Before descending again into the dazzling light, they glanced back and noticed the others. Sasuke grumbled, "Damn it, that was too bright." Everybody else gave a nod. Naruto said, "It looks like our armors are enough to block it off." Kraden nodded to Naruto and said, "Either you'll have to go alone, or we need to stick close to one of your 4. "My thoughts exactly, Kraden." The Venus adepts remained near Miko. Mars remained near Naruto. Mercury remained near Naruto. Miko was also with Kraden. No problems, Kakashi simply walked back up there. He said, "I think this proves I'm a Sol adept. Which is weird, because I'm a shinobi." The group continued on until they came to a stop in front of a space that resembled a temple, with stairs leading to an upper level that surrounded the temple. Naruto held up the yellow orb, gave the blue orb to Sveta, and gave the red orb to Miko. He glanced at another area on the upper levels and said, "Miko, Sveta, find the point the orb goes in. From the looks of it, each orb goes in the center of the pillars with their color on them. Stay in your groups, and be wary. We don't know where the Tuaparang are hiding, or if they're even here." Everybody gave a nod. Right, Kraden stayed with Naruto this time. After the orbs were positioned, the temple rose and a sword emerged from the earth. Miko brought her group to it because she was the closest. It turns out that nobody in her group does it. They were taken aback, but Kakashi immediately approached them. "If I'm a Sol adept, maybe I can pull it out." Miko gave a nod. "It's worth a shot." Then Kakashi tried, and it was simple. He was about to give it to Matthew when it and Matthew's hand collided with the floor. Then he took it. "Looks like it only wants me to wield it. Too bad I don't know how to use a blade such as this." It was a double-edged, bright gold broadsword. After admiring it for a while, Kakashi heard a voice. The male voice pondered, So, the icicle is in here too. I guess you chose him because he beat you? He heard the Ice Queen respond, that, and his books aren't half bad. Although, to be honest, I didn't peg him for a Sol adept. As the others gathered at the temple entrance, Amity shared the information. The new voice acknowledged, didn't think any were left in Weird, to be honest. Seriously, they went to another world long before alchemy was sealed. If it's okay with you, may I ask? I pulled a sword, are you it? Kakashi asked in his mind. The new voice said, oh, you can actually hear me? That's a first, even with Sol adepts. Yes, I am known as the Sol Blade, but I prefer being called Solaris. Pleased to meet your acquaintance. Kakashi Hitaki. Would you mind telling me the entire Sol adepts went to another world part? I'm a little perplexed about that. Long story short, the amount of Sol adepts were declining fast, they decided to leave Weird for greener pastures. In your blood, you have the blood of one of my previous wielders. They left me here for over 1,000 years. And only now, one of you comes back. What's the deal? Asked Solaris. I've never heard of you before, until now. My father owns the blade on my back, but the Hitaki blade has been in use for 5 generations. Although it was only a clan legend, my father had once mentioned a blade of light. The Shiroi Kiba on my back was supposed to be a replica of the blade, but no one else understood what it meant or where it was. Only one clan member was able to use it, but its name had faded with the ages. Kakashi clarified, Shiroi Kiba was not like that. My father had looked everywhere, but he never found the real one. Solaris remarked, don't explain why you're here now instead of years ago. I'll explain it to him, Kakashi. Just don't read your book until I'm done, it was just getting juicy. Alright, Chloe. After saying, I'll leave him to you, Kakashi walked back and applied chakra to his back before drawing the well-known Tanto Shiroi Kiba. Like most of them, Amity had listened to the entire conversation and was perplexed. Sensei? Inquired Naruto. I don't know the answer. It would probably be in my father's archives if there's any record of it at all. After giving a nod, Naruto pointed to the blade. He recognized it at once. Kakashi nodded and asked, is that the Sol blade? He likes to call himself Solaris, though. Solaris then spoke up as Naruto called forth the Dark Jupiter blade. Before it became louder, Kakashi heard, wait, is that Judy? It is Judy. A friend of yours? Solaris acknowledged. Well, that's debatable. Judy is called the Dark Jupiter blade, but really the guy's a soft idiot. Bloodthirsty as he may seem. Kakashi gave Naruto a look. Hey, Judy, Solaris says hi. Naruto was taken aback by the blade's irritation. You're kidding me. The now named Judy yelled, no, Naruto, I am not. That blade is a fucking pain in the ass. Before receiving the complete explanation, Naruto said, geez, you don't have to be a pain about it. Mind telling me what he did? She glanced at Kakashi and said, oh. Well, I guess that makes sense. Tell Solaris that Judy wants him to go fuck himself in the ass. Naruto. Yelled Miko and Naruto. What? I don't mince words, and that's what he said verbatim. Both of them grimaced, and Naruto went on. Oh, and Kakashi. Stick Solaris into that hole in the temple. It will open the door, or so he says. I'm not calling him Judy, as his real name is Judice. When he did so, he heard a statement that made him smile. I'm coming. Amity gave a disgusted shake of his head. He had heard it. Kakashi, control those two in there. Kakashi simply gave him a smile. I like them like this. They both said, thank you, at the same time. Now Amity grimaced. As Naruto looked around, he noticed that the walls were covered in numerous books. He created 10 shadow clones and ordered them to deliver all of the books. Tyrell, crush the pegs. I'll gather all the books here and seal them. After Tyrell did that, a number of posts appeared. Adept nodded and spun them around while Naruto sealed all the books into a single seal. Matthew? She asked. As Matthew used grip on the final post, he gave it to Kakashi. I advise you to keep this, sensei. It contains all of the knowledge that is kept here. Naruto narrowed his eyes and said, Arcanus. After leaving the temple, they discovered Arcanus, Hikari, and numerous repelling Tuaparang members. Arcanus said, it's a pleasure to meet you face to fact, Fox of Nine. Stop the nonsense. We both know who the other is. They both removed their masks, and Kraden's eyes narrowed as Naruto said, just show your face, you too, Alex. Kraden, it has been a long time. I thought I should help you out, though, Alex said, referring to Amity. And that's what we're meant to think. Karis shot back. The Hikari said, the Konoha shinobi should remember me. Are you pursuing me once more? Sveta snarled. In response to Alex turning his head away from her, Hikari shook her head and said, I'm the one that convinced him to help you out. Although, out of all the shinobi present, I haven't seen one in Konohagakure. She removed her mask, and Kushina's eyes, along with those of every other shinobi except Naruto, Naruko, and Miko, widened. I'm Hinata Hyuga from the Mercury clan. Let me introduce myself formally, she said. She wore the same outfit as when she battled Sveta in the ruins. My father is actually Alex of the Mercury clan, not Heishi Hyuga of the Hyuga clan, as Konoha believed. Hinata. Did you not go after her? With a low, menacing voice, Naruto asked. I had to see for myself, Hinata said, unable to look him in the eyes. I apologize if I misled you earlier, but I needed to make sure that you could do what I couldn't, she said, turning to face Sveta. When he most needed someone, I wasn't there. One of the few who desired to attend was unable to do so because of personal insecurities. Do what I was unable to do. Verify that he is genuinely content. You're capable. In our spar, I observed that. Sveta stood up and said, how can I be sure you mean that? As the Tuaparang encircled them, Kushina said, wait. We'll discuss this later. We have an army to beat back for the time being. Naruto nodded and said, Hinata, we'll discuss this later. You will be counted among the dead if you hit her. From what I saw, she's better for you than I am, Hinata said, launching a Tuaparang member over the edge with a palm before they fell. I'll do whatever it takes to ensure her survival. Reach for the controls. We'll assist in preventing them. Sveta and the shinobi leapt to the ledge, while the others had to move around, releasing more P synergy than they desired. Alex nodded, then twisted into the air and launched P synergy at every member of the Tuaparang. Volchek, you so owe me. Volchek told Naruto that there were far more Tuaparang than he had mentioned, and they seemed to go on forever. They were surrounded, but in the end, they all reached the bottom of the controls. You know what? Screw this. Everyone, including Alex, stared at him bewildered. Alex, come on down here. I'm bringing out Ultima. Everyone was shocked by this. Oh, Ultima. Blados said mockingly, please, I'm so scared, nothing has the power to frighten me. That little bitch is something I also owe. 4. Chalice began, but paused as they watched the surroundings grow darker. When they heard Naruto speak, everyone turned to look around in confusion. The Knight's Fox, who is visually impaired, locate the root of the predicament of the Guardian, the Moon Dragon. Bring on the monsoon season. The root will be completely filled. In hell, when we eat. Get up, Omega, after Naruto yelled, Tenjin. Like lights appeared in the darkened sky, which had eliminated the majority of the sunlight that had been shining on the area. A night sky with a moon appeared in the gap where the previous sunny sky had been. Everyone, including the Tuaparang, stared at the figure that broke through the opening as two huge hands emerged and further parted the clouds, allowing it to enter the darkened sanctum. Uzumaki, I was not called here by you. Only Naruto heard the yell, not even Miko or Naruko, and he didn't even attempt to respond. The figure spoke again over the group as soon as it descended onto the platform above him, and Naruto jumped onto the giant beast's head after emerging from beneath it. I'm sorry for calling you here, but many of the people here are more power hungry than any other person I've ever met, and they don't deserve to live. I assumed you would want to try them. After responding with a growl, the beast sensed something else. This place. I recall this location. Have you been here previously? Boy, you have done yourself something even I appreciate, the giant beast said again after a few seconds of silence during which no one moved. This time, there was something like a smirk. I had no idea that I would ever see the Apollo lens again. Go to the controls. Who is the intended victim? Naruto, content that the Jubi would not attempt to kill him, remarked, pretty much everyone here but those I was next to when I summoned you. All right. Put those on my back and get those you want saved. The others perish. Naruto swiftly twisted all of his friends onto the Jubi's head, causing them to see the head, the single eye, and the 10 tails flowing behind them. You have 60 seconds. Naruto. What's happening? Confused, Kushina inquired, I mean. Here's Omega, everyone. It's all up here, Ultima, the Jubi, Naruto said. Enjoy yourself. Yeah, I intend to. The enormous creature then unleashed a barrage of dark purple balls, destroying all incoming airships before trampled those that were already nearby. When they were about to throw a psi grenade, Naruto knocked it away and realized something was wrong. Chalice, Blados, and a Chaos Hound that looked familiar were already up there. When he yelled, "Looks like we'll have to handle this one on our own," none of the three were on the ground. "Hey, young man, anyway, why did you come here at all?" Grave eclipse is out, and I'm trying to stop it." "You mean a great eclipse? After we get rid of these fools, you use the Apollo lens," Omega thought. "In exchange for bringing me here, I'll make sure you don't actually die." "We'll take care of those who got up here before they could count as targets," Naruto said, nodding. "All of them?" "We'll take care of it." Tyrell, Karis, Reef, and Matthew were up first. Matthew began. They had to deal with Blados, Chalice, and the Chaos Hound, as Naruto discovered it was called. They were sent back, but not before knocking Chalice out. Blados had gotten them with the Hound. They fell back, and the next group of adepts entered. Himi, Eolio, Sveta, and Amity. They managed to eliminate the others, but Sveta concentrated on the Chaos Hound. They had eliminated the last two, but Chalice had gotten up, and they were mainly exhausted. The three then somehow glowed, but after a good 20 minutes, the second wave of adepts were now exhausted. The Jubi was sending Tuaparang over the edge, and several more airships were arriving, but they were swiftly shot down by Omega. "Wave 2 fall back. Go in. Wave 3. You are the one who called forth Omega," Naruto informed them, attempting to join the battle himself but being restrained by Naruto. "You must remain awake throughout this." Judai's in hand, she moved to stand beside Sasuke, Sakura, and Hinata. "I'll take your place." The three of them used P synergy and a few jutsu on the new creature, which was Wave 3. The battle between the Genin and the Chaos Chimera, however, was more difficult than anticipated. The four of them were unable to accomplish much, so they switched places and allowed Wave 4 to enter. It was Miko, Alex, Kushina, and Kakashi. It became interesting at this point. Fireballs came out of nowhere, wind-shaped dragons appeared from random positions, ice formed, trapping it occasionally, but it broke out with the next attack, and lightning fell from the sky and burst. Spark plasma. The first two waves were now watching, though still exhausted, and Naruto had not jumped in, for some reason, as he was looking out, trying to figure out how many of them were left. The fight was moving at an unbelievable pace, and no one was visible except Alex, who simply warped from place to place. "Hey, it won't be enough, kid, to bring me out here and ensure your survival. One of my favorite creations is being attacked by these idiots." Naruto's eyes grew wide. "I'll teach you something related to something else. Do you see my eyes?" "Yeah. That's what yours shall look like when I'm done." "You mean?" Naruto's eyes widened. "One of my favorite creations was shown to me by you. I constructed the Lunar Sanctum, Sol Sanctum, and this location." "That brings to mind. Before returning to the elemental nations, you stop there. The person you know as the Rakudo Sennin learned how to use chakra through Fuinjutsu. He did not create it. He learned how to make ninjutsu and genjutsu from me. Only at night will you receive a call from the Lunar Sanctum. You'll need to travel at night to get there. It is constantly updated. All developed and perfected ninjutsu and genjutsu are added there. You are the only one who can enter. Oh, and I'm sure you'll enjoy something else I left there." Naruto grinned slightly and nodded, saying, "All right. Before I leave again, I'll make sure to do that. Are there any other locations in the world that I should be aware of?" "None that I would want to visit. No," as the Chaos Chimera fell and struck the ground next to the control system, Naruto remarked, "Roger that." After Naruto transformed into his beast form, Omega remarked, "Boy, get on the top, and push all of your P synergy into manipulating the targeting system. You don't need your Biju form for this." With flames sprouting from his beast form, Naruto responded, "If I'm gonna use this, it'll be necessary." Kraden looked at the Jubi and exhaled, "Magnificent." He was the only one who didn't fight because he was a scholar and not a warrior, and the Chaos Chimera on the ground was now next to the other adepts, who were exhausted beyond belief. The Chaos Chimera burst into ashes at that moment, exposing two clothed skeletons dressed in the clothing of Blados and Chalice. Kushina realized who it was and that a blood clone was being used. Finally, she was able to see Naruto on top of the controls to the giant weapon. He was in his beast form, channeling P synergy, when two giant hands appeared and aimed the cannon. A bright light then radiated from the cannon's barrel, and when it fired, Naruto was struggling to remain motionless, feeling the full force of the recoil, and the beam was still firing. "Hang in there, kid. I need to switch out some chakra because I'm running low on P synergy." He did so, but the result was insufficient. Shit. Not enough chakra. What the hell is going on? No time to worry about that. First gate. Open. The resulting chakra surge was immediately converted to P synergy, which was helpful, but not enough. After 20 seconds, it was almost depleted. Fuck. Second gate. Another burst of chakra. He was grateful that his beast form had eliminated the negative effects of opening the celestial gates. Almost there. Third gate. Open. The fur appeared to darken, but the blast eventually ended, and Naruto fell back and over the side of the control system. That was my gift, Naruto. The lone eye turned to Miko. He will be back. Omega sent a tiny pulse of energy that struck Naruto as he fell from the control, changing his landing point so that he fell overboard rather than on the nearby platform. You can count on it. But be ready for a fresh dojutsu that he can turn off. Omega went up for the hole in the clouds, which had not yet left, and left after Miko heard it and nodded. There are more gifts than I told him. It is up to him to figure it out, Omega said. Were his last words, before the clouds started to part. Sveta could not believe it. She couldn't stop him. No. After giving her a quick glance, Kushina hobbled over. The only person who was fully unharmed was Alex, who was able to approach Hinata, who was still exhausted, and ask, "Are you okay, Hinata?" With a worried tone, he inquired. No. Why? Alex looked around and said, that was his plan from the beginning. Does anyone have a psi crystal? If Morgul is safe, I'll bring you all there after I check to see if he is. Eolio managed to say, no, Tonfon. There's our ship. We'll use that to get there once it's clear. Our stamina is low, Eolio said, holding one out as Alex nodded. Sveta said, we'll have to get some rest. I don't. Such as you, but for the moment. We require your assist. Nodding, Alex said, Hinata. For now, stay with them. Warp or not, you won't be able to make the trip. Alex warped out after using the psi crystal on himself. Alex smirked and said, his plan worked. Good job, Naruto Uzumaki. He saw that Tonfon was largely unaffected and that the darkness had already vanished for miles. He entered the item shop and jacked a few mist potions before warping to Kalima Forest, which was much closer to Belinsk. After warping back to the Apollo Sanctum, Alex glanced at the others, took out a couple of the potions he had jacked, helped them all sit up, and gave them the mist potions. Alex nodded as each of them received a single bottle of the potions. I am grateful for the Golden Sun event at times like these. Belinsk is secure. He glanced at the controls and said, his plan worked. The darkness is gone, and the Luna Tower is still there, intact. By eliminating the energy that was causing the eclipse, he personally put an end to it and eliminated any possibility of it happening again. But all it cost him was his life. Kakashi was oppressed, and the majority of them nodded. Miko attracted everyone's attention by saying, he's not dead. Sveta, check your mark. Is it still present? After doing so, Sveta answered, yes, it is. And that implies. Her eyes grew wide. Miko gave a nod. Ultima arrived. He is still alive. He is still alive, but I'm not sure where he is. I kind of feel, Miko. Funny, Naruto began. What are you, Naruto? Ugh. Miko then hunched over, and landed on her hands and knees, breathing heavily. What? You are clones of blood, but, this has never happened to me before, Kushina said. On your back, Miko. Now. Kushina performed a chakra medical scan on Miko after she struggled to accomplish that but succeeded. This is, she said, shaking her head and then looking up with a smirk. Omega, I don't know what you did, but whatever it was, gave me 2 actual daughters, so. She said, completing the same for Naruto, whose eyes became wide. Thank you. You mean? Kakashi said, realizing that Miko and Naruto were now unconscious. Whatever he did. I'm still not sure what it was. Miko and Naruto's bodies have changed from blood clones to actual bodies, Kushina said, turning to face Kakashi. They are no longer clones. After using Reveal, Sveta discovered that the sense of the 2 Uzumaki girls had changed, and she could tell which were clones and which were real by their sense. She is correct. From the start, I knew the 2 were clones, but now, Sveta remarked, this is unprecedented. They're not. However, if their bond is weak enough, having a separate personality and habit a blood clone could have that effect. That's probably the case, Sveta, Kushina said, nodding as he glanced at Sveta. In any case, we ought to descend. Hold on. You all need to get some rest. I can warp up to 3 people at once. Hinata? Alex gave her a look. Hinata acknowledged, I can take one at a time myself. She then manifested a large P synergy crystal, saying, here, use this, everyone. And I can use warp P synergy too, but not that often. Your P's synergy levels will benefit from it, Kushina said. They took a while to return to Tonfon after that, but Kakashi wanted to be transported directly to the Goma Plateau because he was extremely exhausted and needed to rest. Alex had driven him there, assisted him to the couch, and said, "The others will arrive shortly," as Isaac entered the room. "Until then, Kakashi, try not to pass away from chakra exhaustion." "I'll do. Thank you as well. You still need to train with Solaris, in my opinion." Alex said, "I'll be watching over your students until Naruto returns, but eventually I'll have to leave with Hinata in tow. This is Isaac's cabin, and if there's anyone that can help you learn to use it, he's the one. We'll be searching for your home together. Somewhere, there is another route." "There is. However, I'm not sure where." Kakashi exited. "My clan belongs to the Sol Adepts. This is where they went. Turned into the Hitaki clan. I'm going to faint now," Kakashi moaned. After shaking his head, Alex swung it over his shoulder and said, "Isaac." He almost snarled, "Alex." He turned to Isaac and said, "I have no quarrel with you." "Where is my son?" Isaac was holding a sword now. "Slow down. The adepts who accompanied him are alive and well." "I'll give you the short version," Alex said, "apart from one Jupiter adept, but he'll be back soon, anyway." The group included 5 Jupiter adepts, 3 Venus, 3 Mars, and 4 Mercury. He turned to face Kakashi and said, "This one is a Sol adept. The only one that went down was a Jupiter, and the only one to earn my respect. I can't give him the training he needs. When he gets well, please do so. All other survivors are currently in Tonfon, where they are currently sleeping. Goodbye," Alex swore. "Matthew, if something happened to you, Alex is gonna pay," Isaac said, keeping his guard up for at least 30 seconds before checking on Kakashi. 3 weeks have passed since the entire Apollo lens incident. Amity and Himi had been returned to their homes, but the rest of the group was now in Belinsk. This time, Alex had a purpose, but he was more in the mood to travel. He was currently searching for a group transportable, safe route to the elemental nations. He reasoned that there must be some documentation, or even a relic, of what Kakashi's clan had done after learning about it. Kakashi was still training to use Solaris with Isaac and Garrett. But Sveta was still up well after dusk, and it was now the night of the full moon. She was looking out into the sea at the time, and it was getting close to midnight. "Naruto. You're still out there, I know that. Please, return," she thought. Despite the fact that the mark was still there, she felt nothing but her bond with him. "Looking for Naruto?" Kushina's voice reached her ears. She approached Sveta at the summit of the Luna Tower while dressed in a formal kimono. Sveta gave her a look. She turned back to the sea and said, "You already know the answer to that question. I'm getting a feeling. And it's wanting me to stay awake tonight." Kushina chose to take a seat beside her, her legs hanging over the tower's edge. "Guess we're in the same boat. Something's telling me to stay up tonight. Something big is going to happen, but I don't know what." Sveta thought, strange. I had the same feeling. She tried to feel Naruto by concentrating on her mark, but she got no response. She looked at Kushina once more and said, "I'm not feeling anything on him, though. What about Miko and Naruto? They've been sleeping and eating more than they're used to, but that's probably because they're real now, and not just clones," acknowledged Kushina. "They're out of it, but I haven't heard anything from them." Sveta let out a sigh. "It might not be Naruto, but something else regarding us. Any idea?" Kushina gave a headshake. "The only connection we have is Naruto, at least to my knowledge." Sveta let out a sigh and then stiffened. "Something wrong?" inquired Kushina. Sveta covered the mark on her neck with her hand. Her eyes widened as she concentrated on the pulsing sensation, then cast a critical gaze out to sea. "Sveta." As she scanned the waters, Sveta said solemnly, "It's Naruto. I can feel him." She had looked everywhere for him. Her expectations were not met by what she discovered. Her eyes widened as a P-synergy vortex appeared over the coast, alerting Kushina to danger. Kushina interrupted. "Sveta, looks like we have to." Sveta looked at the P-synergy vortex and knew, do nothing. She worked it out. "I'm going up to it." "But you could." Sveta felt someone pass through the tower, so she simply leapt off and ran across the water in the direction of the vortex. 10 Gloom Scorpions appeared first, followed by another with Naruto on its back. That didn't last long, though, as Sveta pulled him from his horse and kissed him. After realizing the impact she had on him, the shadow beings decided to wait instead of attacking. The words, "Naruto, you're finally back," gleamed in her eyes. Holding her close, he said, "Sorry I took so long, my mate. I had a lot to do when I finally reformed, and a lot to learn." The Shadow Army is glad to have someone that can lead them, and I had to learn more about them. Also had to figure out Omega's gifts. Sveta simply embraced him. Don't leave me like that again, please. I can't promise you that, and you know it. Naruto said quietly before turning to face the P-Synergy Vortex, which had changed from its typical sphere shape to a funnel. But I've got really good news for the others, and us as well. We'll need the others that are going to return with us to listen too. Still on the water, Kushina had approached them. Young man, you've got a lot of explaining to do. I know, Ka-san. Just wait until everyone else is up. I don't really want to go over it more than once. Naruto responded, it's not exactly something that's easy to understand, and I think everyone would want to hear it. He glanced around. I don't sense Kakashi in the area. Alex took him to Isaac and Garrett's cabin on the Goma Plateau, Sveta said. Before turning to face the castle, Naruto pondered, probably to teach him how to use Solaris. He grinned and sighed before turning to face the shadow fiends surrounding him. It seems like everything went as I planned. Morgul is safe, the Luna Tower can't produce the energy for another grave eclipse, and you're all alive. All in all, a successful mission. You guys can go back. I'll be fine for now. As Naruto glanced at the other two, the Gloom Scorpiones gave a nod, or what appeared to be a nod, and vanished into the darkness. Shall we get back to the castle? I didn't want to keep either of you awake, but it looks like I did that, anyway. After giving each other a nod, the two women crossed the water to return to the castle. Kraden and Naruto were the only ones aware that Volchek was currently observing them. Except for Kushina and Sveta, all of the adepts were in the town square the following morning. Sakura was the first to speak. It's been 3 weeks, already. I'm worried about him. With a hand on her shoulder, Matthew reassured her, Sakura, he'll be fine. Of that, I can guarantee. Sasuke noted, we haven't even begun to see his true skills. For all we know, he survived that fall. Karis questioned, but what if he didn't fall all the way? I mean, if he hadn't fallen all the way and was teleported somehow, he could be anywhere. Iolio brought up the question, what about Sveta and Kushina? Shouldn't they be here, too? Everyone else saw the knowing smiles that Miko and Naruto exchange. Tyrell sounded as though he was giving the two orders. All right, you two. Spill it. What are you hiding? The Miko shrugged and said, oh, nothing much. Kraden approached them and said, and you call Naruto returning last night, nothing much. They then concentrated on what he had said. Reef's gaze expanded. You're kidding me. Kraden gave a headshake. I saw it firsthand. Kushina, Sveta and Naruto walked into the castle from the bay, and haven't come out of their rooms since. Volchek knows this too, as we talked about it. We had decided to let you sleep on it. He had also just finished paperwork at the time. Matthew questioned, Kraden, did you tell my father we had done it? Kraden grinned and nodded. I did. Kushina had also written up a report of everything that had happened that she knew of. Although, Miko was staring at him. I am curious as to why you had all of the adepts, your mother included, take a quiz like you did. You never did explain it. Miko gave a nod. I'm not done with them, yet. Sasuke, Sakura and Kushina are the ones who had to do so, but they're the only ones that had no choice in the matter. The others did. Out of everyone, the only one that didn't fill one out was Matthew, which surprised me. I didn't see what knowing my favorite food would be worth. I'm sorry, but I just didn't understand the reason for it. Of course you didn't, Matthew. You didn't know what I was planning on teaching Team 7 and Kushina. I came up with the idea with Naruto's help, and we figured it out. Those quizzes were to give us an idea of what to expect during this particular training. It's why we have been training your P-Synergy abilities to the utmost. Karis said, you mind filling us in, then? I am also curious as to what those quizzes had to do with training. Naruto questioned, Kraden, what do you know of the fox? Despite raising an eyebrow, Kraden gave the best response he could. What does that have to do with this? Sasuke, Sakura, of all the traits Kraden just listed, how many fit Naruto, at least from what you know? Naruto responded. After giving it some thought, Sakura responded first. All of them fit what we know of him, but we don't know everything. Miko questioned, Sasuke? I'm with her on this. That's Naruto dead on. Naruto gave a nod. She turned to face the others and said, and Naruto's beast form is a fox. Can anyone find the significance of everything so far? Sasuke and Sakura came in second and third, respectively, after Matthew and Karis. All four of them asked, you're going to teach us the beast form? Everyone was now taken aback by the two nods they received from the Uzumaki sisters. It's what the quizzes were for. They were to help us figure out what to shape your inner beast from. Naruto has a powerful connection to foxes, has the personality and mind of a fox, and as such, his beast form is that of a fox. It also helps that it turned into his Biju form after he had taken the title. Miko clarified. The training begins when I've got all the quizzes complete, and this includes Kakashi's because his training in it is also mandatory. Each of them gave a nod. The Uzumaki sisters nodded when Tyrell said, "So, we just work on peace synergy for now?" Sasuke. Sakura. The two of you should also work on chakra control. You both need to get your skills up. Even if we find a way back to the elemental nations, we're not going back until you two and Sveta are Junin level. Kakashi can wield Solaris at Cage level, and has mastered his branch of peace synergy, and Naruto has mastered using the Zanbatsu class swords, Miko said. I'd be teaching him how to use a Zanbatsu, so he'll be gone for a while longer, Naruto said. The goal here is to get all those going back to the elemental nations to Junin level or higher in all areas, become master adepts, and then Naruto will put you through his training routine. If Naruto is not done with Naruto's training by then I'll be the one administering it. Miko continued. And trust me. When it's over, if you hate me, that means I've done my job. If not, it'll go on. Kushina has shinobi skills. Much more than the three of us. Sakura, ask her about medical ninjutsu. Trust me, it'll help you in the long run. Everyone, including Kraden, nodded. Sasuke asked, so, where do we begin? Miko smiled. Naruto, make sure to take Sveta with you and Naruto when you leave. I'll go with Tyrell, Karis and Matthew back to Isaac's place. Just search me out when you're done. After nodding, Naruto returned to the castle in a composed manner. See you soon, sis. Miko turned to face the other people. It should take me 2 more days to figure things out, so until then, rest. Matthew, if you want to fill out the quiz now, then I suggest you get moving and turn it in quickly. After Matthew nodded, everyone except Miko and Kraden left. The two exchanged glances. Kraden noted, they must return the rock feather to their parents. This will delay their return. You know that, right? Miko gave a nod. Their return, yes, but not the delivery. Miko clarified after noticing Kraden's perplexed expression. It was sealed in Kushina's report. Kakashi will unseal it, and the rock feather is delivered. You shinobi are strange. Miko gave a shrug. That's what happens when you're in a world that isn't your own. Kraden gave a headshake. If I may ask, why did I have a quiz when I cannot use peace synergy? Miko gave a headshake. Miko gestured for him to follow her, and he did. You are different from the others, yes. However, the reason you got one is different. It's also the reason yours was different from theirs. 5 months later, with Alex. At the moment, Alex and Hinata were in the town of Immel, close to the former Mercury Lighthouse. At the moment, Hinata was wearing the Hikari mask, and Alex was wearing the mask he wore as Arcanus. Hikari said, "Father, why are we going here?" His answer was, "To see my sister." With more curiosity than anything else in her voice, Hikari said, "Wanting to apologize, I take it?" Arcanus gave a nod. The two entered the tiny, snow-covered town and took in their surroundings. The two noticed a woman in her late 30s, dressed in a healer's robe, with light blue eyes and bright blue hair. On her back was a big silver ankh. She wore a blue and white outfit, white shoes, and a Mercury symbol on her chest. Hikari and Arcanus approached her. Arcanus said, "Can we talk to you?" in a tone that was far softer than most people would associate with him, preferably in private. After giving it some thought, the woman realized she was ready in case it was a trap set for her. She gave a nod. She said, "Of course. This way," and proceeded to a nearby cave near a waterfall. She turned to the two mask-wearing people once she was inside. "All right, who are you, and why did you come here?" Hikari's gaze shifted to Arcanus. "She's here. You're here. If you're going to apologize, now's the time." Arcanus sighed, but the woman was still alert despite her confusion. Arcanus shook his head, then removed his mask and held it up to Hikari, who took it. "To understand why I must apologize to you, Mia, you must know who I am." Mia squinted her eyes. She didn't think he would return, but when Alex knelt down and bowed, his forehead almost touching the icy floor, she was once again perplexed. "I know you cannot forgive what I have done, no matter my reason for doing them. I know that sorry is not enough for what I have done. I may not have come expecting you to forgive me, but I ask you of one thing." Mia grabbed her ankh and was about to attack when Hikari intervened, saying, "Haven't you taken enough from this village?" She whispered, "Let him finish, Mia." Mia's eyes narrowed at her, now furious. Why are you following him? He's a disgrace to his family. He's nearly destroyed this world, and you would help him? She asked. Hikari shot back, I would, and for a reason. It's my fault he's here. Let him finish. What you do after he does, is up to you. Mia would make fun of them, but she was now alert for any deception at all, for the time being. Mia. I do not deserve to call you my sister, and I know you must be disgusted with me, but I ask that you don't take it out on my children. When Alex said that, she stumbled. Children. What have you been doing all this time? Asked Mia. Alex spoke despite being unable to look her in the eyes. I have been trying to punish myself, by not being around my children. One of them found me. The other only knows of what I've done, and I would neither be surprised, nor angry if my son hated me. My daughter, for some reason, forgave me when I stated my reasons for leaving, but I have not told my son those reasons. It is the same reason I did not come back until she convinced me otherwise. He was able to look at Hikari, who was prepared to use force. The elders of her mother's clan are as bad as I was. The eclipse? I only helped out because of my son. I cannot do much for him, but until I can forgive myself, I can never expect you to forgive me. And this one? She is my daughter. Family should stick together. He had forgotten that fact, but I know what happens when a family is divided. It never ends in a pretty situation for anyone and could easily result in the extermination of said family. Hikari stated to her, it is why I am backing him, knowing his reputation. Even though Mia remained vigilant, this was too much. He had betrayed our town, his family, and done countless deeds that could never be forgiven. Hikari arched an eyebrow, but it was not visible. Is it for lack of trying? He may not have forgiven himself, but making things right for his children is how he's trying to atone. He was staring at her. He already thinks he can't be forgiven by his family, but that's because he can't even forgive himself. It's why he helped the Tuaparang when his son joined Isaac's son. We were planning on turning our backs on the Tuaparang ourselves and help from the beginning. He was willing to bear the title as background manipulator again, if it meant his son would be seen as a hero. I convinced him otherwise. Instead, we led the Tuaparang into a trap we knew of. Mia was unable to complete her sentence, a trap for. While continuing to bow, Alex turned to face Hikari and said, the trap was set, but one piece neither of us knew of. When he called Omega, I was surprised. Not because of what the summon was doing to them, but because of what it was. Hikari said, okay, now you have me confused. Sure, that summon was unusual, but we're talking about a summoner from another world that defies logic and fate with his very existence. I think that, whatever it is, would definitely be possible. Alex said, not for what it was. And could you take off that mask? I'm getting tired of calling you Hikari, even if that was your mother's name. With a shrug, Hikari opened her face and showed off her lavender eyes. Hinata Hyuga. With the mask, I'm called Hikari, though. It would be a pleasure to meet you, but at the moment, I'm not sure. I use my mother's surname, and he's fine with that. Alex gave a nod, but Mia spoke before he could say anything more. It was worse earlier, but the name was spat out like venom. Get up, Alex. Now how is the summon impossible? We summoned gods against you and the others back in our journey. Because that was a primordial god in another world, that was split into 10 pieces, only one of which is in Weird at the moment. It being summoned, no matter how many gods you've summoned, is not possible, I should know. The body itself was sealed in a moon, while its power was split into 9 other pieces, and given physical forms, which became known as the Q no Biju in that world. Hinata thought, that would explain a lot more. Naruto held the Kyuubi no Yoko. That might be why. Alex gave a headshake. No, even if that was the case, it would have been the Kyuubi, not the Jubi. Before I call it possible, I need to know what happened to cause it, and, even if I have his respect, he probably wouldn't tell me. It's likely a personal matter. Hinata gave a headshake. He is about as forgiving as I am. He wants to protect an entire civilization that hates him for a reason he couldn't control. After seeing what the village has done to him, I'm pretty sure that even the one you called Ivan would snap. Mia informed her, Ivan doesn't snap, he doesn't get angry. With what happened, anyone would be surprised he's still alive, much less sane. I know I wouldn't be. Hinata exhaled. Hinata. With what you told me they did, I'm actually surprised he wants to go back. I'm sure his mother is, too. Alex made the point. He's more forgiving than you are. Hinata gave a headshake. We're about the same, but he's got a stronger will than me. If I was in his position, I'd either snap and kill them all, or snap and kill myself. She exhaled. More likely the latter than the former, though. Then Alex turned to face Mia. When she goes back, I'm going with. However, she will also need to become a Master Mercury Adept, and she is not entirely fond of fighting, even if she knows it's necessary sometimes. Much like you were, actually. With her ankh still in hand but forgotten, Mia was now in a daze and asked, "You want me to teach her?" This was ridiculous. I have taught her all I can, but I would rather be able to heal wounds than inflict them. My father, for some reason, never learned anything more than the basic ply when it came to healing. I was hoping to ask you for help in that area. Hinata admitted before turning to Alex. If you don't want to, I will understand. You don't trust my father, and by extension, you wouldn't trust me. After taking off their masks, Hinata and Alex moved in the direction of the door. They paused and turned to face Mia. Wait. You want to learn to be a healer of the Mercury clan, right? Hikari grinned. Then I will oblige, but he cannot be here while I do. I may be able to find it in me to trust you, but I can't trust him. I've tried my hardest to forgive him for what he did, but even after all this time, I can't. But maybe. I can start by teaching you what you need to know. Arcanus gave a nod. I was expecting that. It's why I had planned to search for a safer way back to where she was born while you did. In fact, that's what we were doing, until she convinced me to make the side trip here. When I find it, I'll come here to let you know, and then I will head to Isaac and let the ones with him know. If she finishes before I return, I ask that you send her to Isaac's place. She has friends there. They would be there, or in Belinsk, as one of them is married to the former heiress of Morgul. Hinata sighed with satisfaction, to think that he was the one I had a crush on too. Arcanus told Hinata, "Don't think like that, Hinata. You just came into his life too late." Hinata responded with a hint of humor, "I just never had a chance, and neither do the other girls back home when they find out what he really looks like. Sveta will have to beat them off with a stick." She wouldn't use a stick. She'd do worse to them than you would. Remember her beast form? Hinata gave her left side a massage. "Yeah. I can still feel the pain from when she struck me back in those ruins." Arcanus said, "You tested her early. Maybe, but it was necessary. I knew he wouldn't let it happen, so I had to do it when he wasn't around." Hinata replied. "Besides, Naruto knew. Naruto didn't, and I'm not sure if he does now." Arcanus left the cave, and Hinata returned to Mia, saying, "Good luck, Hinata. Until I return. Where do I start, sensei?" Mia had to keep her smile to herself. "Perhaps. We will all benefit from this. Perhaps I can learn more about his son and be of assistance to him as well." With Amity sighed while in a room of the throne. 2 days after his return, his uncle Pathos had died. He disliked being called the ruler of Euthe. Amity let out a sigh. Knowing that he didn't really need his advisors, he glanced at them. He entered the main atrium and gazed out over the serene city. In the underground city, children were having fun, adults were trading, and then some more. He grinned slightly as he passed, and when he saw that people had stopped to stare at him, he simply sighed. He eventually found the alchemy well and entered. He was followed by a few others, most of them guards. Ignoring them, he approached the Luna mask. He touched it and said something. He asked the wind, "Father, did you really mean well when you left? Why did you leave? You activated this well, gave my mother the credit, and helped give birth to me. Then, when you left, no one knew who you were. Not even Uncle Pathos knew. I know who you are now, but I can't seem to figure out how to think anymore." Everyone was on guard, including Amity, as Arcanus suddenly twisted in. In response, he raised his hand. "Relax, Amity. I'm only here to visit, as my daughter wanted." The guards were going to attack, but Amity anticipated it. The order came from Amity. "Guards, stand down." "But Your Highness." Amity remained tense. "If you provoke him, he could kill you in an instant. I should know. Why come here? You left my mother, you did so much good, but why? Why help the Tuaparang? Why activate the Apollo lens? Why did you do it all?" Arcanus let out a sigh from behind his mask. "I did it for my son. Although, the methods changed slightly, thanks to my daughter. In other words, I did it for you. I would have made myself a scapegoat for the Apollo lens, but... Well, she wouldn't have let that happen. She didn't like it when Naruto had killed himself back there. She moped for a week afterwards." He nodded. He then pulled out a sword, which made the guards tense, and gave the blade to Amity. "Either way, I am only here to visit. I can't exactly stick around, unfortunately. I have a deal to honor, and this is one I'm not willing to break. This is known as the Arctic Blade. Use it well." When the handle was held out to him, Amity took it and pulled the sword out of its sheath. The blade had a vivid blue color, but it felt cool. Then he turned to Arcanus. Why give me this, and you do not draw a weapon yourself? Arcanus said, because I did not come to fight. Saying sorry for not being there is not enough. Making sure you're seen as a hero may not have been enough, either. I hope you can forgive me, but I doubt you would. What I've done, I have yet to forgive myself. For that reason, I cannot expect you to forgive me. Arcanus held out a hand after Amity simply stared at him. Arcanus examined it and clutched it, saying, this is a start. Amity inquired, where are you going to now? I mean, you're just here to visit, right? With a note of regret in his voice, Arcanus acknowledged, unfortunately, yes. I may not be able to return, either. I am looking for a way between this world and Naruto's. My daughter is with Mia, at the moment. She could not learn everything she wanted from me, as, even with my experience, there are some things I just didn't bother to learn. Mia can teach her what I cannot. Amity gave a nod. Make sure to use the actual entrance next time, father. Arcanus gave a nod. Farewell. My son. Arcanus twisted his head. After examining the blade and sheathing it, Amity turned to face the guards. Meet me in the training room. I need a spar. But, Amity cut in, but nothing. If something happens, and Aothe is in danger because of it, someone has to protect the people. You may not be able to handle it, either. As the only adept in the entire city, I would have to fight. If I cannot protect my people, then I am no ruler. With a grudging nod, the guards all moved toward a bigger room with water encircling a much larger, elevated platform. They looked at him even though there were already a number of guards in training. Your Highness, have you come to see what we can do? Amity replied, actually, I came to spar, but sir. In a perfect fighting stance, Amity drew the blade that Arcanus had given him and looked down at the guards. Amity smiled slightly as he recalled Kakashi telling him, come at me, with the intent to kill. Otherwise, this won't be a challenge. Despite their reluctance, the guards were a little miffed that he didn't believe they were strong enough to fight him. The final guard realized what Amity had meant after 45 minutes and 28 guards were rendered unconscious. What's wrong? Surprised I'm actually this good. The guard gave a nod. After that, Amity dropped his stance, sheathed the blade by his side, and then threw Wish Well at the unconscious guards, causing them to moan, before they stood up. I believe I said to come at me with the intent to kill, or you wouldn't stand a chance. Anyone doubt me now? The guards gave a headshake. It was then that the advisors entered the training room. One of them said, Lord Amity, you should be in the throne room, not in here with the guards. Besides, you have a visitor from Passage. With a sigh, Amity turned to face them. The advisor exited the training room to inform the visitor, I'll be right there. He combed his hair with his hand. This is why I don't like my advisors. I knew Boggy had come in. Looks like I'll have to put this off until later. You guys are going to need to improve if you want to keep up with a group like the Tuaparang. You've got nothing on them. They're more of a challenge. You'll have to shape up. I'll contact a friend of mine. I'll see if he can help. The guards were down. Yes sir, it's what we get for hiding from everyone but Passage. You all know little of the outside world, but I don't. I've seen what can be done, and this person is stronger and faster than I am. I am nothing, compared to him. He could probably take you all out in 30 minutes, reading a book. Amity then left the training area. I'll be making changes to the training schedule for you guys based on his advice. You'll need it, as I don't want you to die for no reason. This made them a little happier. Yes sir. After grinning, Amity walked away and up to the throne room. Amity pondered, let's see what Kakashi can do for them. Later. 10 months have passed since Naruto returned to Belinsk. A week later, he walked with Naruto and Sveta to the northern mountains. Naruto had to have his chakra and P synergy sealed before he could start training, but the 3 Jupiter adepts had been there for some time. Since they hadn't visited the nearby town in a month, they made the decision to go. Naruto claimed that Naruto had mastered the Jupiter Blade, which he had received from the Shadow Army. It was just as strong as the Dark Jupiter Blade and had the same dimensions, but the color of the Jupiter Blade was different. The rest was the same, but the blade itself was a deep blue. Now that his chakra and P synergy were open, they made the decision to investigate the neighboring town. Before they arrived in the area, they had sealed all of their necessary supplies, fully anticipating the cold weather. They saw the town as they descended from the mountains. They had no idea which one it was, but they knew there was one close by. As they were staring at the Mercury Lighthouse across the way, that is, until now. When Naruto sensed someone familiar, the 3 exchanged knowing glances and entered the village. Sensing her, Naruto questioned, "Why is she here?" Sveta noted, "I can't sense anyone familiar. You're too familiar with using new eyes, ears, and nose, so it's no surprise," said Naruto. "But let's go see for ourselves." Now that they knew it was Immel, the three entered the town. As they entered the village sanctum, they observed Hinata using ply to heal a few individuals. Both she and the woman behind her were grinning. The woman remarked, "Hinata, you've learned a lot in the last 2 months." Hinata said, "Thank you, Mia. Sensei." Hinata tensed up, turning to face Naruto, and said, "Hinata, it's been a while." There was hope in her voice as she said, "Naruto, it's really you? You weren't in Belinsk when I got back, so I guess it's natural that you didn't know." Mia was staring at Naruto. "I take it you're Mia, of the Warriors of Vale?" The woman answered, "That I am. I must say, you're a lot older than Hinata." Naruto asked, "Did she tell you of her crush on me?" And got a nod in response. "Well, no offense, Hinata, but you didn't really stand much of a chance in Sveta's position. I couldn't get my mind off of her, and even when I was talking to Sakura, I was trying to picture her as Sveta." Hinata gave a nod. After saying, "I figured," she approached Naruto. She struck him in the stomach with a Juken strike, saying, "But before we go any further, that's for not telling me you'd be back when you used the Apollo lens." At the impact, Naruto stooped and was flung back roughly 5 feet. He held up his right hand while using his left to hold his stomach. "I had that coming." Ply was then used by Hinata, but it wasn't very effective, merely making the pain less intense. "That can't be right." "Hinata," began Mia. Hinata was perplexed now. Pure ply didn't heal him all the way. Naruto sat down and said, "Not surprised. A Juken strike is more than just an injury. Vital Boon doesn't do anything for a chakra network." Now perplexed, Mia questioned, "What do you mean?" Naruto responded, "A Juken strike has a similar effect as Bind P synergy. Naruto's been hit with both, so he knows that for a fact. So have I, for that matter." After giving Mia a quick glance and receiving a nod from both of them, Hinata used Restore P synergy, which briefly obscured Naruto's chakra network before it returned to normal. Then Naruto stood up again and nodded. He glanced at Mia and said, "Thanks, come to think of it. Have you taught her to remove curses?" Mia said, shaking her head, "No, I haven't." "Why do you ask?" "Because I have a friend back home that has a curse placed on her. It's currently sealed away by the best the village had to offer at the time, and then reinforced with Bind P synergy that was 20 times as potent as usual. I've been trying to find a way to purify it, or get rid of it altogether, but the only thing that might help would be something along the lines of Mercury P synergy." Hinata turned back when Mia glanced at her. With a hint of sadness, Hinata questioned, "I'm not ready for it, am I?" "I'm afraid not. You're good with Restore and Cure Poison, but you're not good enough. There are a few more in Mercury P synergy that I have learned, but never use. Detect Curse, Remove Curse, and Curse Reverse. You must master what I have taught you, before I can begin to teach you those, I'm afraid. And with a shortage of those needing to be cured of poison, I can't master that one." Mia gave a nod. Naruto raised her hand. Everyone in the room stared at her as she said, "I can help there." Now perplexed, Mia questioned, "What do you mean?" "I happen to be a poison expert. So is our friend, Anko. She's the one with the curse." Naruto stated, "I can whip up a few poisons of varying abilities, all of which I'm immune to, as is Naruto. We learned from Anko, too." Hinata became happier. "Maybe if we could find volunteers for this." Mia gave a headshake. "No one would willingly put themselves in that position, Hinata." Naruto gave a headshake. "When I said I could help, I meant it, Sveta." "Oh no, you're not poisoning me. It'll be dead poisons, meaning they're there, but not affecting you," Naruto said. "That's what Anko did with us, after all. Our bodies adjusted to the poisons, eventually granting us immunity. Then she hit us with the actual poison, live and ready to fire. The effects are much less than they would without the immunity, but once they ran their course, we eventually could fight through them. Sveta, you may run into Anko when we get back. If she hits you with a poison you're not ready for, it could kill you, and I probably wouldn't be able to do anything to help. And she doesn't always exactly the anti-venom around." Sveta sighed as she turned to face Naruto. "Fine. Just hit me with the dead ones, and have her remove them." After giving a nod, Naruto produced a scroll and mixed some ingredients. As she completed the first one and administered it to Sveta, Naruto said, "We'll start off with some low ranks, and work our way up, okay?" She purposefully killed it, something that Anko and she could both do. Mia and Naruto observed Hinata purging the poison from a distance. Naruto gave a headshake. Naruto had already created 3 more, all D rank, and remade the first one before injecting it once more. Not fast enough, Hinata. You have to purge in within a second. Try again. Mia and Naruto observed Naruto's process of creating the poisons. I didn't think someone would make poisons and be able to intentionally make them duds. Mia made the point. The best poison experts know how to cure poisons, and can make vaccines so the target can eventually become immune to the poison in question. Naruto clarified. What my sister is making and injecting are the vaccines. But if a vaccine is meant to get them immune, then how can they be purged? Replied Mia. Naruto answered, a poison is a poison. In order to become resistant, or even immune to a poison, one must experience the poison. Vaccines are essentially poisons, diseases, or a virus that is killed, but still has the genetic properties of what they're for. She's making poison vaccines, which is actually quite rare, since most who use poisons don't think that making a vaccine is needed. They build up their immunity over time, and repeated usage of said poison on themselves. Naruto and Anko are the only poisons experts out there that have known about vaccines in our world, because Naruto is the one that brought it up. Even Anko had been stumped on the idea, since, back home, it had never been thought of before. If it had, the only ones to know of it would be Suna, but they used the same method she did. Use and train the immunity. Mia had given a nod. Years before, that was how poisons had given her fix. Sometimes, purging the poison wasn't enough. She had to wait for it to finish. I agree. Not many that use poisons, or even healers that I know of would have thought to do so. Naruto gave a shrug. They can make a vaccine for diseases. Why couldn't they do so for poison? To get their attention, Naruto said, it's because it was never thought of. She continued to gaze at Sveta, who was growing irritated. Back home, the ones most likely to be hit with poison would eventually be slated for death, are shinobi on the field of battle, or are high-ranking officials, who are already immune. Shinobi have a high immune system, so they don't worry about diseases that much. She glanced to her left. Naruto, you and I have never been sick before, because of the simple fact that our immune system has been near God. Like in strength since we were 9 months old. We can't get sick from diseases, and viruses have little effect on us, if any at all. Thanks to Anko, we're immune to all poisons, too. After Hinata's purge satisfied her, she proceeded to the next poison she had created and followed the same procedure. I'm going to need to restock on poisons and supplies later on, though. Hinata's good, but until she can get rid of an A-rank poison in under a second, nearly instantaneous, then I'm not calling her a master of curing poison. She doesn't have to use them, but she needs to be able to purge the poisons with utmost ease. Hinata went to work after she gave another injection, but she was growing weary. It was the same one she had been using for some time. She was so tired from using too much P synergy that she was on the verge of fainting. After realizing this, Naruto decided not to inject the subsequent one. Alright, we'll pick it up tomorrow, Hinata. Get some rest. Thank you. Hinata stumbled backward and fainted. Naruto let out a sigh. Figures. She used it a good 30 times in rapid succession. Not to mention that she's been healing others all day, Mia said. She's earned the rest. Sveta sat up and massaged her arm while Naruto nodded. Do you have any idea how much that hurts? Naruto's eyebrow went up. You've been hit by me and Naruto in our beast form, and that hurts? Sveta shot back. You don't pierce the skin. Naruto approached her. Sveta. I went through the same thing, but only once for each one. This is to help a friend. As she sighed, she said, I know, but that actually hurts more than when you sent me 50 feet with a single roundhouse. Naruto gave a headshake. Even when you skipped 9 times before sliding? Sveta responded, that was included. Oh, that bad? Rubbing her arm, Sveta said, unfortunately. Why did I agree to this again? Naruto replied, because you'll need it later on. Besides, we were gonna have you go through with this later on anyway. Sveta said, I wonder if I'm sane sometimes. Naruto shrugged and said, I do it too. It just feels natural to me, so I ignore it. In Mia's home, where Hinata had been staying, Naruto assisted her to a bed. Dango stand, Konohagakure 3 other females, one of whom was a little upset, were seated at a table with a purple-haired kunoichi. She wore an orange miniskirt, a chainmail top, a trench coat, and her hair styled in a pineapple ponytail. Anko Mitarashi was this person. One of them wore what appeared to be a doctor's coat, had dark brown hair, and bore a striking resemblance to a dog. Hana Inuzuka was her name. Another had purple hair, but it was down and hung down to her shoulders, in contrast to the first. Since she wasn't on duty, she wore Junin garb. I knew her as Yugo Azuki. The fourth one had red eyes and raven colored hair. She was dressed in what appeared to be a bandage mini-dress, black shorts, and a mesh shirt underneath. She had been crying recently, but the tears had mostly disappeared from her eyes. Kurenai Yuhi was her name. Hana said, "Anko, why did you call us here?" As the dango she had ordered arrived, Anko pouted, "I can't talk to my friends." Hana began, but Anko waved her away, saying, "That's not." Anko sighed, "I know you didn't mean it like that." Then she spoke in a whisper nearer to them. "Believe it or not, I'm worried." They were taken aback by this. "About who?" inquired Yugo. "I could probably check on them, you know." Anko gave a headshake. "I doubt you could, Yugo." They knew this was serious because there were no nicknames. The fact that she didn't call Yugo Kitten surprised Kurenai as well. Anko glanced at Kurenai and said, "But I'm not the only one worried. You're worried about your missing student, right?" Kurenai averted his gaze. "Anko, it's all right. My student isn't in the village either," said Anko. "However, I saw the report that said student has vanished just yesterday." Surprised, Hana said, "Anko, you have a student?" Anko acknowledged, "Used to. Damn good one, too. He took everything I could throw at him and came back for more." Yugo inquired, "What happened to him?" "Sucked into a mystery vortex." Anko's expression changed to one of rage. "The vortex vanished after he was pulled through, and the entire team got sucked in with him. Our allies don't know where they are, and as of 3 days after their disappearance, there hasn't been a single rescue mission for the entire team." Kurenai turned to face Anko. "Anko, do you think my student got pulled into one of these vortexes, too?" Anko answered, "If she was, then I wouldn't be surprised. And since the Hokage isn't letting anyone go after them, or even search for them, or your student Kurenai, the council has been throwing a shit fit, and making death threats to shinobi. It's been a week since it all began, too. I've been getting them, too. More than usual, at least." Kurenai gave a nod. Heishi was pissed that his daughter is missing and nothing is being done about it. As anticipated, Anko nodded. "She's been missing since the day after Team 7 left for a C rank, right?" Kurenai gave a sorrowful nod. At that moment, there was only one fox on the table. It had just emerged from an unseen form of cloaking jutsu. When some of the customers noticed it, they were going to attack, but Anko stopped them all with a glare. Then she looked at the scroll. Wielding fox. "Message from him?" Anko inquired, feeling optimistic now. Anko removed the scroll from the fox's leg and opened it after the fox nodded. Hana, Yugo, and Kurenai all examined it. As she finished, Anko's eyes widened. She was too shocked to notice those around her. "Tell me this isn't a lie. Please. Tell me this is real." Kurenai noted, "I can't sense a genjutsu, but I can't understand it." Anko looked directly into the fox's eyes and said, "I can. If this is a joke, then tell him that he's got a lot of nerve doing this." The message was visible to Anko when the fox tapped its front left paw. Anko took 3 dango sticks. "Here." The fox joyfully devoured them before poofing. Was it a summons? That was what everyone but Anko was thinking. Anko informed them, "Girls, we need to go elsewhere for this." What was in there? Anko got up, dropped the money for the dango, and used Shunshin to leave the area. "Meet me in the forest tower. 1 hour." After exchanging glances, the 3 girls did the same. Someone was going to pick up the plate of unopened dango that was still on the table when Anko returned, gave them a stern look, picked it up, and walked away. An hour later, a statue of 2 hands in the ram sign was in front of the 3 girls in a grand hall. Now they were awaiting Anko. The 3rd Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, entered the room with 2 other people, including Anko. Undoubtedly, the other was a Hyuga, but he was still incensed that his daughter was still missing. Heishi Hyuga was his name. "Anko, why did you want us here?" Hiruzen asked in a firm tone. "I know a few things that I probably shouldn't, but was trusted with." Anko replied. She turned to face Heishi, "And right now, I'm going to tell those involved," she said. She turned to face the Hokage, whose eyes narrowed. "Those that I didn't tell to keep the trust of someone else," she said. Anko looked at Kurenai, Yugo, and Hana, the 3 girls, and said, "And those I trust. The only reason I'm telling you now, is because he told me to go ahead and tell the Hokage, and those I trust. But what he put in there, must also be told to one Heishi Hyuga." Yugo received a nod when he asked, Are you talking about the summon that gave you the message we couldn't read? What summon? Asked Sarutobi. I've kept this secret for a little over 4 years, and not even Ibiki could get it out of me. We know. He tried. Anko said. And it's about Naruto Uzumaki. Yugo said, you've been training him, haven't you? Anko gave a nod. That's also who you were worried about? Yeah, the blonde Gaki is a handful, but he trusts me, and the feeling is mutual. It's why I trained him in this forest as much as I could. Sometimes, he used something else, that I couldn't seem to learn. Anko nodded her head. I still can't figure out what he meant by alchemy. No records show alchemy can do what he could. I know, because I've checked every library in the village that I could. There are no records of P synergy. The Hokage's gaze grew wide. You knew about it? Heishi asked. Hokage. Sama, what is this about? Your part is later, Heishi, but there is a reason as to why you were called for this without any escorts. Anko said. Yes, Hokage. Sama, I knew about it. He showed me himself, after I had gained his trust. This forest was the only safe place for him to keep up his training and its usage. He couldn't let anyone know, or he'd be executed. I understood that, so I never brought it up to anyone. After giving it some thought, Sarutobi nodded. It was logical. They had all been duped by Naruto. He was aware that Naruto had been concealing something, but he assumed it was simply loneliness. Related emotional pain. Anko, what do you know about the origin of P synergy? Anko shrugged and said, not much. I can't use it, so I didn't ask much else. But that's not the issue here. First off, Team 7 has been transported to another world, where Naruto had been when he was 8, and was there until he was 15. Sarutobi asked, what are you talking about? From what I understand, it's another dimension, and the time. Streams aren't exactly in sync. He got back, and it turns out, only 2 weeks had passed. It's been 4 years on our end, but apparently 8 years for them. Anko then turned to Heishi. This is where you come in. Hinata Hyuga is there as well. Heishi gave Sarutobi a look. You knew this, didn't you? With his attention now on Anko, Sarutobi said, Kakashi had reported it, and something else. How did you find out? Sarutobi was on the verge of following Anko Shunshin as she left the room, but she returned using the same technique while holding a large scroll. When she unrolled it, it revealed, this is how. Only one person has signed it. Uzumaki Naruto had signed a summoning contract for this. He sent me the message about all this. The tower has a secret vault, that only he and I know of. But there was more information in the scroll he gave me, that Heishi doesn't need to know. And why not? But Heishi was not amused, because it has nothing to do with you, although this next bit does. Hinata Hyuga is not your daughter. That statement stunned everyone. No, he was essentially furious. You dare. Anko said, do a blood test. The real father is who took her up. He left her here, and he had come to visit, hoping to apologize for leaving. She already forgave him. She had been born to someone out of the village, and the only one to know was Hikari Hyuga and him. Heishi said nothing. I want to see the results myself. Sarutobi nodded because he was interested in seeing it as well. After giving a nod, Anko produced a sheet of paper bearing a signature from Kushina Uzumaki. This is the result of the blood test done there. That's the first one, and 2 others were done, for the validity of it all. They all had the same result. Heishi and Sarutobi examined it. It can't be. Sarutobi was not amused after seeing who had signed it. Anko. Kushina is dead. Anko produced a small bag containing a few strands of red hair and said, she plucked her own hair, and had her son send it. Sarutobi took the bag with the intention of testing it himself. Test it out if you want. His words, not mine. Anko went on to describe his experiences, saying, okay, now, this is more about Naruto than Hinata. I don't have any more information on her. From her perspective, the marriage was boring, but he clearly didn't care about style. Then there was his brother.in. Law's manipulation, which he corrected and reversed. The Hitaki clan's true origins and the Apollo lens. Then there are his sisters, Miko and Naruko. She also revealed that the two were his alter egos at first, something she was aware of, and that they were now actual people with physical bodies. They bled and had their arms severed, but they recovered. Naruto is officially the 3rd strongest Jupiter adept alive, or so they say. So, any questions? Sarutobi wasn't the only one who was in shock over the news. There was more to it, he knew. There's more to what happened. I knew about Hinata from Kakashi, but not Naruto. Well, I got my information from Naruto, and not Kakashi. Anko replied. He gave an in-depth analysis of what he had seen, and what had happened on his end, and Kakashi's report, if you have gotten any, would be different from his, for that simple matter. They're coming back, but he has plans before they do. After giving Heishi a quick glance, she extended her hand. One tiny black bead. It was not radiating any chakra. Take this, Heishi. Why would I do that? Hiyashi took it, and his eyes glazed over. Because it has the specifics of what Hinata's been learning, and a message from her. At least, according to Naruto, anyway. He glanced at Sarutobi as they reverted to their usual state. I must take my leave. What I said is not clan business, and therefore, is not the Hyuga elders' business. As he left, Heishi said, you'd be surprised what they'd get into, but there's nothing to tell them. Kurenai, Yugo, Hana, and Sarutobi all turned to face Anko. Anything else you left out? There is more, but he didn't let me know what it was. Said it was better to do so in person. Sarutobi gave a nod. And how much of this world did you know about before he left? None. Thought about it being possible, but he was tight-lipped. Said Anko. He just told me that the source of his P synergy came from something that was now physically unreachable. His pain came from the same source. That's all he ever told me. I wanted to know more, but knew better than to push. Now that I know, I can understand why he felt that way. And Kurenai said, oh, and why is that? One Naruto Uzumaki was engaged, and set to be married 2 weeks after he had been forced back. He didn't want to return. In his position, I'd have said the same. Anko nodded. He also has plans for the team before they come back. He's going to put them through his training regime. And for once, I pity the Uchiha. Yugo said, all right. How bad is it? Anko replied, it was bad enough that I couldn't complete a day of it on time. Seriously, I could only get through 20% of his morning stretches in the time it took him to do the daily routine. That harsh. Anko gave a nod. His stamina is insane. Oh, and he knew what sex was before he came back last time. Guess it came with being engaged. Did you know anything of his first trip there? Anko gave a headshake. Still don't, actually. Said that's something he'd say in person, to only 5 people, on the grounds that the way there is kept secret from even the council and our allies. But if his wife is called for the CRA for a seemingly new bloodline, he'll tell them about her entire family, which is essentially a country of the same clan. She capitalized the word clan. Nothing about her is a bloodline, aside from her physical features, which, according to him, are similar to the Inuzuka clan being more like anthropomorphic traits. At least, that's what he said. They're more beast. Like than the Inuzuka in appearance, apparently. Anko showed them all a picture that she had taken out. It featured Miko, Naruto, Sveta, Kushina, and Naruto. Sarutobi said, Naruto is in this twice. Anko showed him the back and answered, actually, thrice, yet once. The circles had names next to them and were arranged in the same pattern as their faces. I figured it was a key as to who was who. Miko and Naruto are Naruto's alter egos. Naruto and I get along greater than Naruto, and Miko is much more calm and level-headed. Unless she gets in a pranking mood. Naruto is basically a combination of the two, but also has his own traits. You want to know the true reason he wears that jumpsuit? Hana noted, everyone thinks it's his favorite color, even my brother. Well, you're not wrong on the statement, but that's not the reason, said Anko. Take a closer look at what Naruto is wearing in the picture. What do you see? When they did, they noticed the armor that resembled clothes. You see all that? He always wears it underneath the jumpsuit. It's his Umbra armor, and something that is something he never get rid of. The jumpsuit hides it. Anko clarified. He didn't want people to know about it, so he asked me to help out with it. Said he woke up in the village with it on. Still the truth, but it was actually an earlier marriage present from his brother-in-law. Damn thing is sturdy, that's for sure. How sturdy? With the hits it was put through, I'd say Guy could only dent it with the first gate open, if that. Said Anko. Second gate for me, and I couldn't even do that. That reminds me, he can open the first 3 gates in order, or the last 4 in reverse. Reverse order? Inquired Kurenai. Isn't that dangerous? Normally, opening the death gate results in death. Thing is, that's only when it's opened normally. If he opens the death gate third, which reminds me, he has 10 gates, not 8, he can go 1 more. If he goes in reverse order, his abilities skyrocket, but it won't increase his reserves. Instead, it increases his physical limits by 5% for each gate, and his healing factor is effectively tripled with every other gate he opens. 5% for the first one, 10% increase and triple healing for the second, 15% increase and still triple healing with the death gate, 20% increase in his healing is 6 times the usual using the Wonder Gate. Chakra levels are the same this way. It all goes to physical strength and stamina. No increase in chakra. As if he needs it. I found he opens the gates in reverse order more often than he does the normal way. Oh, and if he took the Genin exam in his true body, he'd have passed first shot. His chakra control using the form in the picture is near perfect. I blame air hopping. I still wonder where he got that idea. Yugo inquired, could it be the fox? Wouldn't be surprised. Still. The seal the fox was behind is gone. Has been since he was 10 and here. I had checked him after he passed out taking on a spider nest in here. He tried to solo one of the smaller ones, and he did the job, but he nearly passed out afterwards. Lucky for him, I got him out of there before any others came into the area. I decided to check the seal, but when I tried to, it was gone. No trace of it. I never asked about it, because I didn't think he knew of it. Now, I'm thinking he did when he was 8, and the fox is gone. How old would he truly be? Well, from the message, that picture was taken 10 months before he sent it, so I'd say about 20 years old. Same with his wife. His team will be coming back as well as his mother, which I do know of, and Hinata's true father, Alex. Miko and Naruto have their own bodies, skills and weapons. I'm warning you now, do not grab Naruto's sword. If you do, you will regret it. With narrowed eyes, Sarutobi asked, is that a threat? There was a hint of fear in Enko's voice as she said, no, that's a warning. The last time someone other than her held it, he went insane. I heard that, if one can't use P synergy, their head explodes. If you can't use a certain type of P synergy, which you'd have to ask them about, your arm could very well be torn out of its socket. The ones who tried died from blood loss or the pain. From what I understand, one tried and died from both. Now worried, Yugo said, Anko, are you scared of the thing? He's scared of the damn thing, and he calls the Hokage, old man, Ibiki. The one time they met was called Scarface after being asked if he was attacked by a porcupine. I think he called Fugaku Uchiha a deadbeat, though. Enko thought about it. Can't remember for sure, it was before his first visit. The 4 others began to perspire. She saw her point and went on, anyway, with all the supposed insults he throws around at people in power, how much do you think it would take to make him scared of something? I think even I would be entitled to being scared with something that scared him. Yugo acknowledged, you've got a point there. Enko said, well, that's all I've got. Miko uses a lightning bolt that she handles like a bow staff or a sword, but I don't know much about it, or how she gets it in her hand at all. You've seen Miko before? Asked Sarutobi, who was now interested. Of course I have. I was there when we found out she could have gotten full control of his body under certain conditions, which are pretty hard to achieve. Acknowledged Anko. Miko was also the reason he came up with the Oroku no Jutsu. He had some help from me, because he said he didn't know how a human female feels. It's meant to be a physical shapeshift, not an illusion. He used that in the academy instead of the henge. Henge is harder, but he can do it. Bunshin. He failed the 3rd time on purpose for the sole reason of exposing whatever the hell Mizuki wanted. He just went along with it to gain some more blackmail. I swear he has blackmail on every clan to date. If he's ever called to the council chambers, he'll be able to use them, because he hasn't yet. He gave me some on the people in my anti-Enko club. They've been trying to get me to resign, banished, or executed. The anti-Naruto and anti-Enko clubs are actually thinking about merging, come to think of it. Most members in one is in the other, too. Where do these clubs meet? Anti-Enko club meets on Sundays at 1100 hours in the 10th Street Rec Center. Not sure about the anti-Naruto club, though. He usually hits the members in that club, and I use the members in mine as target practice when I can't go into the Forest of Death for some reason, and I'm pissed. Enko sighed. Sarutobi gave a nod. I take it he knows where the anti-Naruto club meets. In response, Enko said, I'd bet. Anyway, I should probably tell you this now. The teachers in the academy tried to stunt his growth, aside from Iruka, who actually managed to get him to progress slightly. Not much he can do with Naruto. Naruto's already a Junin level and above in all aspects aside from Genjutsu, in that, he's high Chunin. He's also a seal master, on the level of Jiraiya. I'd wager, and his P synergy would be considered cage level on its own. Kurenai questioned, how did he get so good at Fuinjutsu? Enko gave a shrug. Hell if I know, but at least I can understand it. That P synergy of his, he lost me by the 5th word he said about it. Hannah asked, what? The small words too simple, or something? No, the first 4 were small. The fifth was large. I think it was something similar to dynamic, but I couldn't tell you. Using a scroll and a reverse summon, another fox snuck in. Taking the scroll, she read it. Hello. Anko, we're heading out of here in a few minutes, but I'm not sure if you were able to inform the Hokage of what's happening. Alex said we would be in Wave Country on the way back. 7 months have passed since I sent the last one on our end. Along with everyone else I mentioned to you, Hinata is with us. We can all use chakra except for Alex. In addition, if there isn't already a team sent to Wave Country, I request that the Hokage send one. According to what we've learned, Gato, a shipping magnate, is squandering the nation's resources. I am also aware of his wealth. His accounts will be debited for any funds used for the mission. When we return, Kakashi, who is aware of the rankings, will provide you with an update. This is based on Sakura and Sasuke's abilities. On the fundamental skills between Miko, Naruto, Sveta, and myself, I have a separate report. I've included a storage seal at the bottom of this message that contains all the information I know about Peace Synergy and all the information 6 of the greatest adepts alive have compiled into one encyclopedia because I know you didn't understand it when I tried to explain it to you. Give the encyclopedia to the Hokage and have him look through it if he inquires about Peace Synergy. Although the book isn't a clan secret, it lacks details about Luna adepts because I couldn't find much about them. However, Kakashi Sensei allowed me to copy his knowledge of the fundamentals, the basics, and almost all of the information about what Peace Synergy is and where it originates. For the record, anyone can learn to use it. The later you start, the more difficult it is to learn. Sasuke and Sakura began during the trip, Alex, and I began at 8. I don't know when he began. I couldn't tell you much because Sensei is a Sol adept by blood, but he unlocked it during the trip. Ka.San is a Master Mercury adept, and she is indeed still alive. I am a Master Jupiter adept, as are Miko, Sveta, and Naruto. Master Mars adept is what Sasuke is. Sakura is a Venus adept master. The second greatest Mercury adept ever is Alex. Only when she performs what is known as a dick move, and he is fooled by it does Ka.San defeat him in pure Peace Synergy. A word of advice. Sveta and Ka.San are equally skilled pranksters as I am. Just a heads up. I mentioned the beast form. We all have one. The rest of us aren't natural, but Sveta is, except for me. It doesn't really matter because only Kakashi lacks complete control over his beast form, and he doesn't use it very often anyhow. Oh, and Hinata is a fantastic healer and a Master Mercury adept. In 50 milliseconds, she can cure any poison up to mid-A ranked. Having said that, be ready for us to remove that curse mark from you. Even though I can't do it by myself, I can definitely do it with Hinata. I can tell her about my vision, and together we can purge the mark itself after eliminating his soul from it. Now that the soul is gone, you shouldn't have any more issues. Naruto PS. Request that the Hokage form a new Genin team consisting of Miko Uzumaki, Naruto Uzumaki, and Sveta Uzumaki, with the sensei playing Kushina Uzumaki. The members of Team 7, Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and Kakashi Hitaki, can be readily replaced, and the group already functions effectively. Any member can switch with any other, and the dynamic of the team is not impacted at all. Beast Team configurations. Sakura, Sasuke, Sveta, and Kushina, equally balanced. Miko, Kakashi, Naruto, and Naruto, all fast, high power, with Kakashi being the best support. Don't ask why, but despite their lack of diversity, Naruto, Sveta, Naruto, and Miko, Overkill Assault, Juggernaut Assault, are the best team. But Alex would need to be a mercenary. PSS. After Gato is taken care of, we will withdraw our funds and donate the remaining funds to Wave Country before returning. The Hokage read it after Anko showed it to him. He gave a nod. Team 10 just got their back up. We haven't been able to spare anyone good enough for the mission. After giving a nod, Anko extended a stick of dango. After finishing it, the fox pouted and poofed it out, saying, "Sorry, but that's all I got." Sarutobi gave her a look. What? They like dango, rabbits, and, on rare occasion, fish. Naruto prefers them to Ultima, which I personally think is overkill. Ultima? Asked Kurenai. Anko gave a headshake. If you need to know, he'll tell you. He'd never summon it in the village, unless he wanted the village to be razed to the ground. He snaps at the village, he summons that thing, the village is doomed. You thought the Kyuubi attack was bad? Picture something at least 10 times as powerful, and you've got a small amount of Ultima's power. If it's that powerful, then what's stopping him from using it on us? Yugo inquired. 2 are in this room, 2 more run a ramen stand, and the last is Aruka Amino. The 5 mentioned are what keeps him from leveling this village in seconds. If all of them die, and this village is the cause, then he might just do it. Save those he thinks worth it, and the rest die along with the village. Sarutobi let out a sigh of relief. Anko, you have time off until Naruto and his group return. I can literally feel the paperwork building up from here, so I'm afraid I must go. What you've heard is an S-rank secret, not to be told until it goes public anyway. The rest of you are dismissed. Yugo, Kurenai, and Hana walked out of the hall in a shunshin, saying, "Hi, Hokage." Sama. Sarutobi looked over at Anko. Anko, I wish you luck with the curse seal. Hopefully, his idea works. If it doesn't, no harm done. He put a separate seal over it, to bind it completely. Damn thing ain't getting loose unless the bastard touches it firsthand. I should know. I've actually tried to use it. I couldn't even feel it. Anko nodded her head. Anyway, I should get going. Thank you for the time off, Hokage. Sama. Taking a shunshin, Sarutobi departed. Anko, please look after the boy for me. I still need to finish the necessary paperwork before they come, but I'm not sure about Kushina. Testing can wait. Team first.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.